Still offline. There we go.
There it is.
There we go.
There it is.
It's pretty.
Happy Sunday evening, welcome to an evening of political intrigue and roleplay. Opening in the Shattered Kingdom of Lakshina, from the sandy beaches of South Shore to the frozen mountains of the north, we find our country divided with a lost castle risen from a swamp, chock full of mystery. Here we find our intrepid adventurers. Got Laurie as Kaliga Farah, an elf ranger, Colin playing Almea, a half-elf rogue, just out of luck and out of luck, Jamie and Tosha Crust, a half-elf sorcerer, and Molly Hazel Mama Faye playing an elf druid, and there's yours truly, playing Derek, a goblin cleric. Off to investigate. Now, your host with the most, he puts the arse in Dungeon Master, your DM for the evening, Nate.
Hello, and welcome to Favored Allies, a game where folks play D&D. We find our player characters tonight in the Kashier Barony, one of the biggest food-producing areas of the Shattered Kingdom of Lakshina. Recently, we have Derek and Tosha heading here from the frozen walled city of Bastion, and coming up from the south in the shifting wastes, we have our friends Mama Faye, Hazel Faye. We have Caligo and Alar. The Kashier Barony rests in one of the few fertile lands in this shattered, destroyed kingdom, constantly churning as bogs and wastes and mountains and mounds shift and move rapidly over time. Supposedly, a remnant of a long past slain god in their death throes. Here, something strange has happened. Supposedly, one deep castle building of some sort that has been lost to the shifting lands has risen from beneath the bogs. This has never happened before, and most people think that it's superstition, rumor, country bumpkins with too much time making up stories. But at the same time, those same people dismissing this have sent folks looking into it. What is causing this? Is it real? What would it mean in a land where everything shifts, where nothing is permanent, that something can come back? Well, we're going to start our story tonight at the Sunnyside Inn. A small, simple inn, 4 walls, a handful of rooms accessible from the outside, and one main building, central room with a bar, a few tables, and a few strange folk having their breakfast. Caligo, Mama Hazel, and Alar. You find yourselves first thing in the morning, having just arrived in town. The town seemed to be mostly closed up when you rolled in the previous evening. You all have your different goals. What are you doing this morning?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, eating is number one priority. So we have to find some food, and then we need to, well, a good walk around this town is probably a good idea. Get our bearings.
Please tell me that the Sunny Side Up has eggs.
The
Sunnyside Inn.
Oh, I thought it was the Sunny Side Up, to be honest. I'm sorry.
The Sunnyside Inn is actually serving a porridge of what looks to be possibly millet mixed with some sort of grain. Barley, maybe? Unsure.
I pull out of my pocket what looks like, it appears to be like grass clippings. It's not. It's seasoning from the swamp, but I'm going to put it over my porridge.
Excellent.
When you say seasoning from the swamp, it is just grass clippings, right? But it's like swamp grass clippings.
It's a special recipe. A chef never just gives away a recipe like that. You should know better by now, Alar.
I think Alar is mostly trying to forget what happened yesterday, and the giant intestine breathing monster that we ran into, because that was terrifying. He's probably just quiet, like just taking in everything that's going on, trying to get a feel for an area that he's not very used to. Just sort of sitting there eating solemnly. That's about it.
Yeah, and Callie would be wrangling some ale and having this like bland porridge. It's probably pretty standard when you're out and about in the roughs and traveling. But like a walk could be advantageous because we want to find the owner of that tabard. No?
As you're muttering over your simple breakfast, Celine, a young elf woman who's serving you this morning, comes up. Are you workers? You're new in town? I'm sorry, I didn't see you when you came in last night. It's just odd getting folks this early in the season.
No, we are just passing through. Got a long ways ahead of us, I'd wager.
All right. What do you... She looks around. What are you in town for?
I have family nearby. I'm here to visit, basically. Old relatives, that kind of thing.
Farmers?
Mostly. Oh, well, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to interrupt.
Not a lot of folk living here long term. I could point you in the right direction.
No, I'm familiar. It's
Okay.
just been a little while since I've been up this far.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't get a lot of good stories. Most of the workers that come here go to the apiary, and even when they don't, they're not interested in folk. I've never seen folk quite like the group of you coming through.
Well, that's certainly true. And to be honest, I'm just traveling to give the members of my community a little time to breathe without me. I mean, they need to learn to live on their own at some point. They do all call me Mama. What's your name, sweetheart?
My name is Celine.
Celine, that is a beautiful name. I have a cousin named Celine. So, don't be surprised, though. I have about 60 or 70 cousins. So, Celine, I would love to know a little bit more about the layout of this town, just since I got to give my community some time to learn how to live without me. So I'm just going out and traveling. Any spots of interest that I should take in while I'm here?
I mean, if you have any business with the Baron, there's the keep, of course, Kashier Keep. It's a worker town, really, and we don't have one of those fine temples that I hear the cities tend to have, or sites and such. Just there's the farm forest, there's the farm fields, farm bogs. It's a lot of farming, frankly. There's the Temple of the Coralites. It's beautiful in its own way, small. The Temple of the Asher is here. Yeah, otherwise, we just have a couple of shops. I don't even think Dirk's Goods is open for the season yet. It's kind of early for folks to get showing up here for work. The ground's barely tillable now.
Does your ground stay the same year-round? Because it seems so interesting. Nothing moves or changes.
Well, it actually moves and changes faster, just in a different way. Most of the year, ground's hard stone. Can't do much with it. But summertime. Well, you've seen it's beautiful mud. There's a few bogs and such around, but the hills, the mountains, they've been polite enough to stay where they are. I couldn't tell you why. So, I never received that kind of schooling, if anybody does. If you're looking for goods, though, you might stop by the Bit and Bridle. It's the smithy in town. You had mentioned, ma'am, that you got a long way to go. So, if you need anything to help you along the way, that's probably going to be your best bet.
Well, Celine, I think that was real helpful, don't you, Callie?
I do. I wondered, though, would you know of any creatures in the area that tend to give you guys trouble, pick off strays, that kind of thing?
Oh, I mean, there's a long night. You know about that, I assume, if you came up this far north. But outside of the long night, I've been having some trouble with wolves lately. It's been a rough season. Been a rough winter this year. So I actually think up at the keep, they're offering out money for wolf pelts and wolf meat, especially if you have a mind. They've been a problem, and last winter, you probably heard, it was a rough one. And if you do make your way out, if you could not worry about leave the deer, leave the elk, leave the moose. We had to thin them out a lot to get through the winter. But the wolves, oh, have at it. Anything beyond that, occasional things coming down from the world scar, scary things I hear, but Bastion usually keeps us well, sending soldiers and such up here if it's needed.
Aelor nods as though this is normal knowledge that he would definitely have access to.
Yeah,
and as if he'd ever hunted for anything. No,
about.
not at all. As if he'd ever hunted anything in his life. Just nods. Yep, nope, that all tracks.
Callie is legitimately nodding along. Yeah, killing the wolves, got it, yeah.
You gotta kill wolves. It's the thing you gotta do. Yeah.
Get a skinning knife. We need that now.
Thanks. If this is all you have available in the off season, I got to be here at peak at some point. Good Lord. All kinds of excitement.
Well, lots of folks. Excitement, I guess. Just a lot of working folks.
Makes sense.
Anyway, I have to go tend to the beasts. I don't think Garland is up and about quite yet, so if you wouldn't mind. And she kind of excuses herself and heads out the front. You can see her kind of bustling around out a front window where she appears to be grabbing some feed and some other things, walking around the building.
As soon as she's out of earshot, Aelor just leans in a little bit to the other two, and then, what exactly is the long night?
Well, I thought you knew since you have family here.
I have a great many things, but knowledge of the long night is not one of them. So, anything I should know? On the off chance there are more of those desiccated giant monstrosities that attacked us outside of town, because that was not fun.
I'm a little more worried about the thing that was ripped open and consumed. I don't know that the goat sucker intestinal friend was necessarily the one that did that. That's the one I'm concerned about.
And you do remember the goat thing was most of a week ago. It was not in the frozen north.
No. Right. So I'm a little more concerned about what happened in that frozen pass. But I don't know.
Regarding the long night, anyone who is proficient in either nature or history can make a roll.
Yay! Thank you.
I don't think I have any intelligence skills.
Oh, here we go. Oh,
It's a
You know what?
14 for me.
yeah.
That's entirely true, but not this.
16 for Callie on nature.
Oh, wait,
Okay. Yeah, so for a 14 and a 16 for nature, both of you know that when you go far enough north, you can get to a point where at midwinter, the sun doesn't properly rise. You suspect you've headed quite far north, and this might be related, but you're not familiar with whatever the problems of the long night are. That's not something that you've ever heard about or dealt with.
So it's not a monster, it's just...
It's a time.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's an event.
Okay. So it is a long night. You know, at least to my understanding.
Mm-hmm. We could inquire elsewhere for more details, since she now thinks you have relatives here. Mm-hmm. Perhaps the Baron would be a good spot to go, since we have now 2 pieces of information we would like.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, a walk is definitely in order toward the keep.
You all wrap up your breakfast pretty uneventfully. Constitution saving throw from Colin. I'm joking. So anyway, you wrap up your breakfast.
Quick question,
you head out
actually.
and strike out towards the keep. Yes.
If it'd be okay. Where are we in relation to Bastion? Like, Bastion is further north than we are?
Bastion is actually a little bit south and due west of you.
Gotcha.
But Bastion is in the mountains, hence that it's always frozen.
Gotcha. Okay.
So you two strike out towards the keep. Derek, we have a cameo.
Yes.
Derek and Tosha, you wake up in your provided small guest home. It's essentially a cabin that is right next to the keep proper. You are provided with a breakfast. Derek, you've never had this before. Antosha, you had this almost exclusively in your time in the temple. You're provided food that looks... It's sort of soft. It comes in a bowl. And it's firm enough that you could, for example, set something on it. It's not like a porridge that just sinks in, but you scoop through it, and it just has the strangest texture, and it is very, very, very bland. And you've been provided this the last 5 days for your breakfast. You were told that it is the food of the keep.
Yeah, I killed a rat like 2 days ago. If you want some of that, I've been keeping it next to my bed.
Oh,
They pulled little legs off.
I'm used to this. What? What's wrong with it? There's something wrong with it?
Nah, well, if you say there's nothing wrong with it, no, it's the best. Was this snot?
I mean, food is just to keep you alive, right? This has kept me alive. Does
Fair
its
enough.
job.
Yeah, no worries. I'm just like, just pour it like,
Well, I mean, if you want to try this rat sometime, I'm fine with giving it a shot.
Well, just so we're clear, there is no meat in this.
Is
Yeah.
there
No.
meat in this DM? No.
No, there's no. It is mono color of an off-white, mono texture, and essentially no flavor.
You know, if you like this, I got a mate back home in the goblin camps and whatnot. His name's like Grotto. This stuff just bleeds out of his face. You can have all you want. In fact, he didn't know he could market it. I'll tell him there's a business opportunity for him down here. Tastes better too.
I mean, like I said, this has done me just fine, but, guess I'm not one to turn it down if you vouch for it, I suppose.
Tastes the same. Just
You hear a knock at the cabin.
Hello?
Hello?
You've thus far been met by the major domo, offered the cabin, and someone has been bringing you food. But aside from that, no one's really engaged with you. You've been told that you cannot see the Baron yet. The major domo, Valstat Kashier, an elderly elf, going about on a fine crystal and white wood cane. Bears only one leg, although you have not seen it slow him down in the times that you've seen him going about, even in the mud. Excuse me, Bastion Cadre, yes?
Yes, correct?
The Baron Antonia Kashier would like to speak with you.
About bloody time. I mean, this place has been wonderful, don't get me wrong. 2 bathrooms?
And both of you are aware that you came here to meet Baron Palada Kashier. Someone by a different name, same title.
Same title, not Baroness.
Baron's typically used in...
For everyone.
Yes, this area for everyone.
Got you. Do I know who Antonia is? Like, have I heard of them?
You know that Antonia is the eldest daughter of Paleta Kashier.
Just make the names easy. This is great.
Yeah, you know.
Yes, please take us to Antonia straight away. We would like to speak with them.
Yes, please come along. And he,
is there a reason why I'm speaking to Pimento or whatever his name is? Polenta. Poletta. Nailed it.
There's like a pause. My esteemed cousin Paletta has been missing for a long enough time that Antonia is the acting Baron until such time that she is located.
Alarming news indeed. Do you know how she went missing?
She went to walk the farms. You'll find out more when you speak with the Baron.
Of course. Lead us there.
Just whisper to Antosha like, "Their farms walk." This place is terrifying.
You're brought around to the front of this fairly simple manor. You walk in a front single door, but large, reinforced wood. Inside, the stone is a light gray. It's similar to the local stone of the mountains here. And most of this building is actually only stone up to about 5 feet or so, and then above that is built up with wood, with the exception of the keep proper at the back. There's a small 3-story tower built entirely of stone. As you enter, the front area is a mostly empty receiving room. You can see there's 2 fairly large thrones, a fire to your right as you walk in, and a number of wolf pelts just lining the ground, doing the best they can to keep the cold stone warm to the touch. There are around a number of tapestries bearing both the colors of Bastion and the ruling Krast family, as well as the colors, a green with a yellow kind of arch going over it. You've seen it in a couple places here, you suspect it's probably the colors of the family Kashier. Sitting in the taller of the two thrones is a young woman. Both of you are familiar with elves. You would probably place her at about 30.
Ancient.
By human standards, more or less an adolescent. As you enter, she gestures you forward. Come, come.
And have I ever met her before?
You have not.
Antonia? I'm Antosha Crost. This is my associate.
Please. And she puts up a hand. Baron Antonia.
Baron Antonia.
Antosha Crost.
If
Are
we're
you-
using titles, High Priest.
There's a kind of a glance up at you. Oh. Yes. High Priest Antosha Crost. It is an honor to receive you. And this one, and turns to you, Derek.
I got second place at a Goblin Spelling Bee once. You can... But I'm Derek.
Derek, second of the bee.
Yep, that's it.
At this point, Derek, second of the bee. She looks to you. What is your purpose here? Strangers have come into our town, and my mother has gone missing. Gone a week. Often, if a worker has gone a week, we assume they will not be coming back. The lands here are dangerous. You've been in town, as I understand it, for most of a week.
Yes. Got here a few days ago.
What is your business?
Well, I'm certainly dismayed to hear that your mother has gone missing. I was hoping to speak to her about a couple things.
You
Firstly,
may speak with me. I am the Baron.
Firstly, I want to understand more about what happened with the food stores this past year. We need to make sure that we have more to provide for our people this year around, so I wanted to understand more about what happened. Secondly, and probably somewhat less importantly with everything else going on that we can immediately address, but this rumor about things rising out of the swamps. We're here to learn more about that as well, if there's anything to learn.
Yeah, if that's yours, yeah, I mean, we got all kinds of stuff we got. That swamp is not zoned for castles or any kind of building, really. I mean, that foundation's going to be absolutely shot in a couple of years. So any information you can give on that would be great.
Very confused at you, Derek. Don't. There's a rumor that stone has risen from bog. Yes. We're going to pause with you two for a moment. The other three, you approach the keep. There's no one stationed outside. Most of you coming from further south, a lot more people. Rarely would you see somewhere that is actually has people in it, is a keep that has no guards outside. But you don't see anyone on the grounds as you approach the front door of the keep.
Are they invisible?
Does it look... The area that we're at, is it still pretty snowy, or are we past that? What are we at currently?
So it's not. It's The most snowy place that you've
Mhm.
been was the Frozen Pass.
Okay, so it's back down to okay.
Yes, yeah. It's been mud and kind of late winter melt, basically,
M-
since you've been here.
Mud and melt is perfect.
Okay.
Is there like a bunch of footprints in front of the gate? Like, does it look like, oh yeah, people were here 2 minutes ago and there was a big fight, or like, is it just empty?
You see, there's a number of older footprints. The weather hasn't been too bad the last couple days. Actually, you know what? Give me a survival check. How well do you recognize how old these footprints are?
All right, yeah, let's do this.
All right, City Boy, what you got?
All right, that is actually going to be a 14.
It's not bad.
No.
Looking at it, you can see that some of them distinctly look a little older. And as you're kind of approaching, there's a couple pairs of footprints. One about human size, one much smaller, that have kind of look like they've come and gone a couple times in recent days. There's a few other sets of footprints, as best you can tell, all human sized, that have come and gone over days. It doesn't look like anything has happened here recently, and nothing looks like a scuffle. That, or it was a very polite scuffle where people were not mashing up the mud.
Okay.
But as you approach, there is no one to receive you at the door.
How sneaky do we need to be, Callie?
Well, now that's a great question. This is either they're very friendly or this is very foreboding, and perhaps caution is a mite better till we find someone to talk to.
As a quick question, do
Yeah.
either of you actually need to speak to the Baron?
I'm up for hunting wolves.
Well, not just the wolves, but like, my understanding is that you, Callie, I mean, you're here partly because of me, but Mama Faye, my understanding was that you're at least partly heading up north because of the weird castle.
I am exactly heading up north because of the weird castle.
Do we need permission? Do we need, like, should we just...
Well, ordinarily, I like to ask for forgiveness instead of permission. That's more my style. But I think a little bit more information for this particular mama would be a good idea in terms of getting lay of the land. If they have castles rising out of the bog, who knows what else is going on in this land, and it might be good to get a little bit more information.
Fair enough.
But, I don't really care for fancy folk. Not really my speed. But I like to be informed.
Well, in that case, if we're looking for information, we might as well ask to see if they can give us an audience. Go for it. I suppose we knock very loudly. Bam, bam, bam.
All right.
I don't know.
And Tosha, Derek, you're kind of mid-conversation. You just hear like a loud bam, 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 bam on the door behind you. Makes you jump a little bit. Like, there's not been a lot of action in this town the last few days. The major domo straightens up and turns and opens the door. Excuse you. You see this elderly, kind of silver-haired elf leaning on a cane. May I help you? You are interrupting the court of the Baron.
Well, we would have announced ourselves, but there is no one at the gate, so we did all we could to introduce ourselves. We need to speak with the Baron regarding some trouble in the Frozen Pass.
Trouble in the Frozen Pass. I'm Come in. And he gestures you in, but be on your best behavior.
I'm just gonna look at Alar.
And you all walk in.
Alar, like, for the record, Alar has just like completely melted into the back of like, I am a generic person who is just here as a bodyguard. Completely is deferring to Mama Faye in this instance, and is concerned about how this will go down, but just is like trying to blend into the background as much as possible.
Well, if I am to be on my best behavior, I like your cane. It's not as nice as my walking stick, but it's a nice cane. You're welcome.
He looks confused. Thank you, as he's like gesturing you into the receiving room. And you see a half-orc, a bit more lithe than the typical half-orc that you're used to seeing, and a small goblin. Facing a pair of thrones where we have a young adolescent elf sitting. Very upright, very proper. Mama, she kind of reminds you of the types of folk that you have dealt with in the past. Just has that air about her.
Oh, this is gonna be delightful.
Do you say that out loud?
Of course, but in like my stage whisper.
I feel fear.
Save for fear. No. All right. So you all find yourself in here, and the majordomo walks up to the Baron, whispers something in her ear, and she looks up. So the Frozen Pass, as you call it, Widow's Pass, and you know, Antosha and Derek. Technically, the pass has a name. Everyone calls it Frozen Pass because it freezes over. But what occurred there? I heard there was some strangeness secondhand, but you all must have come through.
She's talking to us or the two?
She's gesturing to all of you.
Yes, we certainly encountered some, but I'd be curious to hear what these folks saw.
Well, it's more what we didn't see and what we found. And gesture to Mama for the cloak.
Get it out of my bag. And I lay it across my arms.
Derek and Antosha, you see a cloak that symbolizes a captain among the Guard of Bastion.
Oh no. Can I take a quick look at that real quick? A closer look.
Yes, I suppose so.
Nate, can I see if there's any, like, I don't know if they, like, sew it in like you would your underwear or whatever, but doesn't say, like, what's her name? Marion, Cass, or, the other two, Folster, Therese, any of the people that were traveling with us initially?
It is Cass. You recognize it more so than from a stitching. The style denotes their position, and this one, just by some of the tatters, some of the stains, you know where this one came from.
Oh no, Antosha, I knew we forgot something. We didn't bury the bodies of our friends. That makes it better.
Yeah, we weren't really in a state to it at the time, but yes, these individuals were traveling with us, and unfortunately fell at the hands of the creature being that we encountered.
She wasn't very nice.
Well, it didn't look real nice. I mean, one of them was ripped open.
Yeah.
Sorry, your friend was
Ripped open, yeah.
Disemboweled.
well, yes.
In bits.
Well, Sorry. Here's his cloak. And I just, like, give it to Derek.
Her. I don't know how to fold things. There you go.
Just bundle it up and pass it off to Antosha. Oh,
She was
Tosha
great.
just looks at it and, like, puts it on the floor.
She gave her life so that we could go about 80 feet before she got murdered.
The Valstant, the major domo, is leaning over, whispering something to the Baron as all of this is transpiring. The Baron sits up. So this was, I had heard you had trouble coming through the pass. What was this creature? People were turned to ice?
Yes, well, she seemed very powerful. Looked almost like a older woman who had been killed in the snow, like frostbitten and the like. But didn't seem injured or by it in any way. Derek and I were both inside the cart, and she somehow killed everyone around us traveling before we even saw or could do anything. She spoke to us for a time, and seemed to want something from us. We were able to fight her off. She flew away, it seemed like.
How did you fight off such a creature?
Kind of like heft the luggage a little bit.
We have some small abilities, but maybe she was distracted by something else or got what she wanted. I don't know. You'd have to ask her.
Her ankles are fucked up.
What did she want from you to do that much damage? And that carriage was just like, I mean, it was in pieces. It looked like it exploded.
Yeah. She was very powerful. I don't know what she wanted. I tried to ask her as simply as I could, and she refused to answer my question simply. Best I could get from her is she wanted to see from my perspective, whatever that means.
God, she reminds me of my third cousin once removed Floral. Just, I want you to look through my eyes. Good Lord. I'm so sorry. Yeah, it was an unpleasant business, it sounds like.
Yeah, we narrowly got away ourselves, but yes, it was very unpleasant. I mean, I've never seen a being like that before.
The Baron cuts in. And you others, you saw such a being in the pass?
No, by the time we got there, there was only the wreckage to be found. No creature, no tracks.
But I see you. You, elf, you're gilded? I'm looking at you, Caligo.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I am with the Mud Skippers.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And
Escorting this one.
these others, this one appears to be a wavy bodyguard. I guess. And, well, to be polite, ma'am.
Don't be polite. Just go ahead and say what you're going to say.
All right. Just an old bog dweller. Are you all
Oh, to be fair, you're
capable?
twice my age.
Yes. And she just kind of like looks down her nose at you. She hasn't really been acknowledging you a lot. Yes. Are you all capable? It is a dangerous path to get here, and for 3 folk, as I understand it, to travel.
I was lucky enough to run into the 2 of them on the road, and I'm just here to visit family. I was nice enough to find capable people who were able to fend off some of the more nasty things that we found out there.
What family are you seeing in my barony? There's only about
Uh,
a few dozen families that live here. I can point you in the direction, see that you get to where you're going.
he would give like the actual like family that he has, but like they're over in Bastion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like he gives that and basically like we came the wrong way. So like we're planning to go that, or like he's planning to go that way, but it's like this is where we ended up going, that kind of thing.
Give me a deception check.
Sure. Okay, what is that? There we go. Okay, that's going to be a 25.
Excellent.
I have +7 in deception. It's what you do as a rogue.
She nods, and well, I was going to ask if you would perform some service for the barony, and in obviously we would repay you for that. But if you're not capable, would hate to take the folks that are keeping you alive out here away from you. But these
he'll
two,
manage. He'll manage just fine.
I feel
He's
fear
very
again.
patient.
Somehow you make that sound like an insult.
Or a threat.
My mother has been missing for nigh on a week. Long enough that I have been deemed the Baron, at least until we determine what has happened to her. I would be happy.
You must be all broken up inside. Old lady like you probably got to be like walked around and whatnot. Can't imagine how frail your mum is.
For all of you that are full-sized, I would offer 1 month's ration worth at the smithy or the general store when they open. Of course, and points to you, Derek, given your size, 1 month's ration is about a quarter. And those of you from the north, you're familiar with this in that a lot of times a week's worth of ration in pay or a month's worth of ration in pay is what folks end up working for rather than exchanging gold. It's hard to eat gold. It's not very useful to earn gold immediately. So often you work for food rations, but those can be traded and exchanged and used. And 1 month ration is pretty significant for performing a task.
And we have no food, right? Because we left everything back at the fucking car.
Yes, that might be useful. Well, tell us more. I'm sure that you must have had folks out searching for your mother and have learned something in all this time.
Yes, some folks have gone in search of her, but we've not heard. And there are only so many. There's a pause, and you can see Valstat kind of like giving her a look. I'm not going to make anybody make that check. You can all see him like. And she's like, there's not that many. Our resources are limited. It is early in the season, and we must prepare so that this season is better than last. I'm happy to discuss what happened last season. I'm happy to provide you this 1 month's ration that you may take or spend. I'm happy to discuss this stones arising out of the ground. But first, I need you to find the true Baron.
Nate, can I?
You aren't asking. Oh, sorry.
I
Go
was
ahead.
to say, can I do an insight check to tell if there's genuine concern coming from Antonia about when she speaks about like Polenta's disappearance?
Yeah. Go ahead and give me that.
+5.
Hmm.
It's gonna be a 14.
14.
And you can text me as well and stuff like that if you want.
Yeah. She seems to have been trained to kind of keep up appearances, but in that moment, as she's saying it, you can hear her voice cracks just a little bit as she says that. You feel like she is pretty invested in getting her mother back, especially being what she is offering to essentially go out in a search party, fairly unheard of, at least anywhere near Bastion for such a task.
Gotcha.
Out of curiosity, since because of the whole like the guy leaning in and be like, do I get the impression, and partly because they are offering a decent sum of money to a bunch of random people who have expressed only the ability to not die on the road to find this Baron.
Well, let's not jump to conclusions.
I'm assuming that the general vibe I'm picking up here, and I could roll insight or whatever you think would be needed, is that like the implication of whatever he was trying to get the Baron to not say is that they do not have the forces or the strength of forces to be able to hunt down the Baron, find the Baron. Like, the vibe I'm getting is this group is militarily very weak at the moment.
Go ahead and give me a insight check.
Let's see if this actually works. Yay, I had it on. And it rolled off my screen. That is a 7.
It's a total of 7. So you think that could be the case, but you're having trouble actually reading any confirmation.
Okay.
So like if that is the idea that Alar has, like there's nothing to confirm or deny that in any way.
So, where was your mama when she was last seen?
She set out to walk the farms before the workers came for the season. She took a cadre of our fine and kind of like pauses for a moment and like gives a long look at Antosha, our fine guards. And she first intended to head up into Greg's wood farm. It's and she kind of like gestures back behind the keep. The woods past town. This is our farm where you can find, or where you can find Greg. So within those woods, he manages the trees. There's peat moss that grows there. We use it for bread when things are really bad, but many uses. And then a number of berries that we can only really grow well in that moss. He, unlike the other farms where you can be a day worker and travel out from the town, you have to travel a whole day's travel or so into the woods. There's a camp that Greg runs, and that is the gathering and working camp for the farmhands. She was first headed that way. She was to send a runner to let us know when she had moved on to Davlin Till's farm. That runner never came. We've sent a few folk up there, but they've not returned either.
And the guard, did they not return as well? No sign of them, no
one
bodies, nothing?
I hate to ask this question because it's a political question, but being in a position as you find yourself, how are your political relationships? And has anyone threatened your mama?
We are fairly firm in our control of this barony. There are those who are unhappy, but there always are. But no one has threatened violence. There's been no uprising. There's our neighbors. We've offered to take controlling stake in their farmlands, and they've not obliged, and we have left it at that. But none have threatened. As far as I know, we've given none reason to. But it is dangerous here. I do not leave the town often, nor did my mother. Most of the folks in town do not leave if they're not workers out on the fields. So I worry, but I can't think of why anyone would want to.
Oh.
We are far from many things that people would actually want, despite the nearness to the things they actually need.
Have the workers started going into the field yet, or has that been halted due to these disappearances?
No, the work has to go on. Most of the work will start in the next few weeks as we get more folk filling up the apiary. I'm sure you saw it, the 3 buildings, center of town. Essentially a workman's lodge. They get food, they get shelter. Very few have shown up so far, but the pass is only just thawed.
Do you know if they've noticed anything strange or reported missing among theirs? Or is there someone you recommend I speak to about that?
You could talk to Findel Desant, over in the Apiary Commons. They run the Commons, and they also run the Guild of Free Workers, the folk who don't live and work the land here, but come and go. They're the ones who keep those folk.
Uh-huh. I have a couple of questions. One, what does your mama look like? Because we're gonna be out there in the woods and we just find any dame and bring her home. It's not your mom, so having a description would be helpful.
That's way better than my idea.
What was it, to find a strange woman lying in a pond distributing swords and just haul her back with us?
Well, no, just, any woman will do. Just dress her up.
Okay.
Put a veil on.
You do realize you're talking out loud. Yeah.
Pick
Okay.
up the blanket off the ground and...
I didn't say that in the accent, but
The Baron kind of looks over you. She kind of... Well, she won't look like any of you. And she kind of, for the first time, stands. She's elegant. Her eyes sit very thin. Her hair is pulled taut. Her ears come to a very fine point, much taller than typical wood elves that you would see. And those of you from the south do recognize she appears to be what folks would refer to as a high elf or a city elf. And often, most often, these elves are actually members of the Ostrite family. Odd to find such a person up here. You will, I think, know her when you see her. She is one of the few of the gifted elves that live these lands.
Do you want our help? Are you sure?
She good at math.
We're not gifted, as you say. Strange that with all your gifts, you haven't been able to find your mama by yourself.
And yet, when the gods act, they act through others as well.
Amen.
I don't really care about that. What I would like is a map with all these places your mama was going to go to so we can follow that and we'll just find her pretty little high elf self for you. If you could just do that for me, I'll be out of your hair.
You can find a map of the barony at the, I suppose it hasn't opened yet.
The bit and bridle?
I don't know that they would have one. You could check. Otherwise, Chance Raphael of Dirk's Goods. Suppose you could pound on the door long enough, and it's bound to answer. You could check the.
Sorry.
You could check the bit and bridle. What's up?
I was gonna say, we could just wait for things to open and, like, you know, meet each other. I could use a breakfast. There's some wonderful rats in our mansion.
Mm.
You know, I have a great recipe for rats, too.
Hell yes.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, check the bit and bridle. Sometimes they carry such things when Dirks is not operating for the winter. But just so that you know, her plan was to travel first to the woods to see Grex Woodlands, then to Davlin Till. He runs the grain pastures that you probably passed through on your way here. And lastly, she'd be going to Furbeard, the outcast. He chose the name, we did not, before you object. But you can find his woods to the south of town. He's much smaller woods, much easier to get through, and easily accessible within a day. But yes, you may, of course, find a map in town. They're readily available. The workers often need them, at least for a few days.
Uh-huh. All right. Then maybe you can tell me about the long night and what sort of creatures, if any, aside from wolves, bother you. What is it?
We in the north do not fear wolves from the long night. Creatures that climb down from the mountains. It feels like they crawl inside your skull when they're nearby.
Oh.
Their skin is slick, almost as though they're inside out.
Mm.
In the worst times, they come in droves.
I'm sorry,
We
what?
can, when we're beset, there's few enough folk in town and in the outlying farms that we can all hole up for a day or two within the keep proper. It's what we had to do this year. There were hundreds. You could just see them from the roof.
That's like a cold sweat. Just Kelly just hundreds. Of these skinless mine creatures from the north. Okay.
Some of them look like strange, almost like a dwarf walking on its hands. Goat creature with its entrails dangling out.
Yeah.
We've already fought one of those. Nasty.
You've been to the World Scar?
No, well, we fought it in a bog.
Mm-hmm.
It was south
Technically
of
my
here.
second. Yeah.
Like both the Baron and the Major Domo kind of look at each other dumbfounded and look back to you. I don't think you fought them south of here.
Have I
Well-
ever heard about them?
You've
Going
heard
anywhere south?
secondhand stories of them. You've never seen them, certainly.
Yeah.
No, they're north. They come from the World Scar, and they head south from there. They wouldn't get past Bastion to get to the rest of Lakshina. They don't go south. You would have known.
Well, we found one, and it was south of here. We saw a weird fire in the sky that looked north of Bastion, but it ended up being local, and there was this weird gut, inside out, dead looking, in your mind sucker thing. And it would spit like vile, and its entrails. It was vile.
How far south did you see your first one, Callie?
That one was in the shifting wastes. And I'll kind of like lift my armor to show the scars.
That one was in 10-Day Bog.
10-Day Bog, sorry.
It was days north of Luke.
But that's like super far south from here.
Super south, yes.
Okay.
Just a point of order. How many long nights? Like, are we looking like there's one every year? There's one
every year.
Okay.
There's one every single year. It's a mix. You know that this past year, the long night was very bad. And there's one day in midwinter this far north that the sun never rises, and you just get this sort of twilight for a good chunk of the day. And that's referred to as the long night.
Gotcha. And then it would be... And nothing, we know, well, from our knowledge, is nothing got through on that long night through Bastion.
As far as anybody knows, no one has reported that. It was rough, but you weren't overtaken. But when they said the sky was on fire, you do know during the long night that there are green and purple and beautiful lights that shine north of Bastion, north of the frozen north. Dull, right on the edge of your vision, but on the long night, it's like half of the sky is burning with this.
It'd be really pretty if it weren't for all the goat monsters.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds lovely.
Double checking. Just as a question, the first thing they mentioned was a dwarf walking on its hands, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I was just like, oh yeah, there are these horrific things. Goats with their entrails falling out. A dwarf hand walking.
One that looks like a dwarf.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's
One
way
that
worse
looks
than
like a
that.
dwarf
It's
walking
the
on its
description. Gymnasts and jugglers. Horrific creatures.
Oh,
It's two jugglers.
Sorry, I was just double checking I had my notes right.
All right, so you can ask others about the long night. That's not. I am not a scholar, and I do not wish to speak of it.
You are helpful.
All right. So you're providing us with 1 month's rations and information once we get your mama back.
Of course.
And I get a quarter month's rations.
Yes, of course.
Normally I only get paid a week's worth. This is fleecing her.
Why doesn't he get a month?
Yeah, it doesn't seem fair to me.
He is getting a month's rations. Your month's rations is different from his.
Nah, not where I come from. Pay is pay.
Especially
But
if he's
food
putting
is
his.
food.
But food is
Perhaps
also
you
money.
perhaps you come from somewhere where food is something else. But food is food. He can get 1 month's rations.
At a quarter. Mm. Uh-huh. Well, I can't wait to eat your mama. And just kind of turned to go.
Yep, I follow.
As you start to turn, and she kind of like looks around, and she's like, "Yes, you are dismissed," and then like gets up
Uh-huh.
and like walks through another door.
At this point, Derek's kind of made the cloak into like a swan. Hey! Oh, that's not right. Fucked it up again. Figuring this out.
Looks like twice as tall as you.
It's a frog now.
The major domo kind of sees you out. Please, she does care about her people. She does care about her mother. While you are out, if you happen to see any wolves, they've been giving us issue. I'm happy to. If it's pay that you want, I heard folks talking about pay. It's been a while since I've been to the south. We have coffers and can offer 5 gold pieces per wolf pelt and 10 gold pieces for the meat of a whole wolf.
Fucking hell.
So please, hunt to your heart's content. But we do ask that you do not harm the gentle creatures, the elk, the deer, the moose. Don't mistake those for gentle creatures, but do not hunt them either.
They've said nothing about the most dangerous game. Humans.
Yeah,
You
thank
almost
you.
get the impression he'd be okay with it.
loud. I apologize.
Carnies.
Yeah, we'll be hunting.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
While we're out, at least get him to have a month. I will
Yeah.
not have it.
It doesn't seem very fair.
Would I know, does this seem like racist, or is this pretty, like...
So often for a month's often when you're working, a month's rations is based off of your size. So if you are a halfling or a goblin, it is less food.
So it's
But it is a
institutionalized, is what you're saying.
yes, and so it is a month's rations for them. But if you're performing a special task and receiving rations as a reward, most often those rations are all equal.
Not have it.
Yeah, no. Nope.
How much would a month's worth of rations be worth in gold pieces?
Yeah, in this area, if you were to trade at the goods store, probably about, well, let's make this easier for me. Probably about 52-ish gold pieces, so the math is easy.
You know, it's essentially less to spend at the
52
store.
or 56? Oh, I see, you're dividing by 4. I got you. I see what you're doing to make your math easy.
So I'll say he is here as an envoy of the Krast family. You surely would not insult my family by offering him less. And I'm trying to intimidate this guy pretty openly.
Oh, go ahead and give me an intimidation roll.
I tap on the shoulder and provide guidance.
Yeah.
Go ahead and
Giving
take your
the
beat.
elven stink eye, yeah.
Stop
For
picking
helping.
my tooth
So you
with
can add a
screwdriver.
D4 to that.
Yeah, we could have done better on that.
Am I
That's an
helping,
11.
though?
With an 11, he just looks at you. You know how this winter was. I know that it touched Bastion, just as it touched us. This is what we can offer.
It's fine, honestly. I've got it's just no worries. Could barely eat a month's rations as they've got it stapled. I'm used to it. No worries. Trust me. And I give Antosha that look. Trust me.
He nods.
If you insist,
I got this.
but my mother will hear of this. I look at the old dude and turn around and walk away.
That's right. She's gonna tell her mum on you. You showed them. Walk away with a strut. There's definitely a plumber's crack.
As a side note, we did not see a single guard in that place the entire time we were there.
You did not see one guard inside.
Okay. Audibly, as soon as what was his name? It's not Antosha. Antosha's the Baron.
No,
Antosha
I'm
is
a party member.
Domo. Talking about the Domo?
Antonia is the Baron.
Gotcha. Sorry, the two A names.
Antonia.
Yeah, Antonia. The major domo. As soon as the major domo's out of earshot, Alar just lets out this long breath that he'd been holding about since people were asking to get executed, and just accepts that this is how it's apparently going to be.
Execute.
For the
I'd love
record,
to see them try to execute me.
I hate her, but everyone's better off if you can find their mama. So,
I agree. I came here to speak to Coletta. She might have more
Or
information
class.
for us. Maybe that too.
well, I know I need info, so, and a racist. So, where are we going first? Bit and Bridle? Get a map?
Bit and Bridle's not open yet. It's got about an hour. Do you want to take an hour to prepare, and then after we get a map?
The recommendation was Dirk's Goods for
Who are
Chauncey
you
Raphael.
people that we're now traveling with?
I was gonna ask the same thing. Maybe we could take that hour to become acquainted.
I need an hour. All right.
Oh, you need
I'm
now.
Derek, the cleric.
Hi.
Antosha Crust, priest of the Usher. We're both from Bastion.
Ooh.
Oh. Well, I'm Caligo DeFera. I'm a mud skipper, and I'm heading north with this gentleman.
Alar, I wasn't exactly intending to be here, but I guess this is the direction we're going at this point. So,
Where were you intending to be?
well, eventually, I need to work my way a little bit further north. There's some things I need to go take care of.
All right. Well, I'm Mama Faye. Hazel. You can call me Hazel. You can call me Mama. Whatever works. I'm here to do some investigating on that, castle rising from the bog. And sometimes my reputation precedes me. Sometimes in a nice way, sometimes not so much. But that's about par for the course for me.
Have I heard of Hazel Faye?
You have heard of Mama. You've heard of someone who goes by Mama, who the stories differ that have reached you. Sometimes Mama is discussed almost as a warning that acting rashly can cause problems. But most often, and that mostly comes from your family telling those versions of the story. But most often, when you hear folk at the church, at the temple, speaking of it, they talk of Mama as someone who cares about people instead of things, and has stood up for her people in the Mist Seers in a way that more people could do.
And for the record, I was on very good behavior, I thought, for me. I don't know why he was warning us about good behavior. Also, go get that rat.
Alright. I reach into my bag and pull out a half-eaten rat.
Oh, you need at least 1.5. Well, we'll just jerky that one.
I see why people like her.
Where are you headed? Oh, sorry, you are discussing, and what are you taking about an hour to work on there?
I think the recommendation was for us to go to Dirk's Goods and see a Chance Raphael about the map.
He said we could try to rouse him, but Dirk's isn't open for the season yet. We could try the Bit and Bridle, because sometimes they have maps when Dirk's isn't open yet.
But it's not open
I
yet,
don't
just
think
on a
I
day,
should
right?
be talking to anybody named Chauncey. I'm
It's a
going to
very
go
untrustworthy
to the
name.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I barely kept it together.
But yeah, if they're not open yet, I guess we could mill around a bit more, just get to know the other two.
Yeah, for the record, it's not like they're not open yet in the morning. It's they're not open yet for the season.
Yeah, Dirk's is not open yet for the season.
Yeah.
What about the Smiths?
The Smiths are open.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think you said the Bit and Bridle. Bit and Bridle is the Smith, right?
Yep.
I think you said that wasn't open as well. Okay.
I think the idea is like most things aren't, it's like a ski resort, like a lot of things are shut down when it's off season. Why? Let's just pick one. Let's go to Bit and Bridle, check them out, not deal with the names that shall not be mentioned, and then if they don't have a map, if they don't have a map, we could do a beanie. We'll figure something out.
No, I went after the rat this morning.
Well, if the Bit and Bridle doesn't have one, maybe that nice young one, Celine, will have information back at the inn. So, let's go to Bit and Bridle.
Cool.
Oh, we could also go to the Apiary Commons and talk to this Findel. They might have maps too. They said the workers need them often.
Mm-hmm. Let's do it.
All right. Need
So
more
where are you
arrows
going?
for all these wolves. Bit and Bridle, I think, first, right?
Bit and Bridle.
Yep.
Okay.
Bam, 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 bam.
No, that's the one that's open.
Oh,
It's
okay.
open.
It's also a Smith is really open fucking...
Yeah,
The door swings open.
Just walk past the guy and start knocking on his door.
I was going to say, there's a building, but the smithy itself is open air. One of the few places where the ground around it is actually fairly dried out. You can feel the heat of the fire as you kind of turn the corner and get closer. You see two rough-looking dwarves, a little skinnier than some of you from the south might be used to seeing dwarves, working hard at the forge, making looks to be some basic tools, farm equipment maybe, and you see an elf and a dwarf kind of going through arranging, and it looks like that dwarf that is with the elf has a small bit of parchment and is kind of like, it looks like they're taking stock as they prepare for the season. They don't seem to notice you as you all kind of walk nearby.
How? Sorry, I'm just picturing what we look like.
It's very loud.
Think go towards the important ones, right? Not bother the workers.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Both of them all four of them just kind of stand up and turn and look at you. And the elf kind of waves over to the two dwarves, and they start hammering away. The dwarf and the elf approach you. The dwarf speaks first. Well, could I help you? I'm stole Blacktooth. It's the bit and bridle.
Well, go on there, Callie. Well, I'm Mama Faye. It's Callie. We're looking for a map of the area, and we were told that y'all are kind of the store that's open for the season, or at least until Dirk's, is it, opens? Or at least you might know where we could get one.
You mentioned Dirks, and they just kind of laugh as they look at each other. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I think we got a couple of maps. Pretty rough, but should get you by. Get into the farms. I assume that's what you're looking for.
Yep.
Yeah. Go ahead, Callie.
Yeah. We need to find Grex Wood Farm, Devlin, Till's Green Pasture, and where Furbeard lives.
Ow, furry. Yeah, he's good. Yeah, outcast.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Gorson, and he turns to the elf. Could you and elf waves and kind of goes over, and there's a box off to the side that he opens up, and you can see him pulling out. It looks like flasks of oil, at one point he pulls out like a saddle. Like there's just a bunch of like odds and ends that it seems like they have on hand just in case. And starts picking through. You mind if I ask what you're doing in town? You don't please excuse me, but you don't look like the kind of folks who work the fields.
Very astute. We're here on some private business, and I'm escorting some folk north. So let's just stop by.
All right, well.
No, sorry, you're good.
All right, well, the map is. I mean, if you're the traveling type, this ain't the kind of thing, you wouldn't sell this to a mud seeker, if you know what I'm saying. Mud seeker, mud skipper, mud skipper, if you know what I'm saying. I mean, those folk don't come up here anyway. They're too soft. Here it is. And Gorson comes over and he kind of rolls out the map and kind of points out it's really simple. Right at the center is town. And there's like a little arrow shows north, and then next to town you can see keep to help orient folk. And then it just in one direction to the north and east, you can see there's a huge forest, and it right about the middle of it, there's a couple of notes where you can see it like draws a loose path, and then there's a couple arrows that come in that are like path disappears, keep going towards Oak Grove or something like that, like keep going and with this landmark and such. And then pretty far into that forest, right in the square middle, you can see a little note that says Old Grex camp. And at the far end, it just says mountains too far. And then down, heading to the south, there's a slightly differently drawn forest. And you've seen when you walked into town, like there's a bunch of fir trees over here, and up towards the backside of town, there's some other evergreens, but they look very different. But down to the south, that's where you can see that Furbeard the outcast, and beyond that, you just see like river too far. And then same thing going out generally eastward from town, westward from town, is Davlin Till's land. And it just says, Davlin will tell you if you've gone too far.
Ow. All right. Uh-huh.
There's a couple other small farmsteads that are kind of like circled, and it's like, small farm, don't bother, small farm, don't bother. Like a few things just highlighting, like, essentially they assume you'll know it when you see it, that it's not part of the big farm.
Gotcha.
Well, I think we need to take that map with us. How much is it?
Oh, you can do a day's rations if you want. Sorry, you're not workers. Do about 2 gold pieces.
How does that seem right?
Seems a little steep.
Uh-huh.
Well, considering that Mama here and the rest of our group were sort of picked up together and asked to go and bring back some wolf carcasses for everything, and there's a few other things we probably want to pick up, I don't suppose there's any way we could sort of like just bundle it all together and we'll figure things out from there.
I mean, you can bundle this together with whatever else you want to buy and leave with right now.
Yeah. I don't suppose you folks have a cart to, bring those wolf carcasses back. It was mentioned of like meat being a good thing to...
Oh, I got a wheelbarrow.
Is it like within sight? How many wolf carcasses can we put in a wheelbarrow?
I mean, if you take the meat off the bones, quite a few. If you're throwing the whole carcass in there, 3
Side
maybe.
Note, because I remember taking a brief look at us and like what our classes were and everything. Are any of us strong?
Not strong.
I'm okay, but I'm up there. So
okay, there's my answer. All right, cool.
Not me, at least.
Yeah.
Really tough 3rd grader.
I don't suppose they've heard of me. I did try to drop my name a couple times as a folk hero, but
yeah.
sometimes that affords me a bit of a deal.
It does. They don't seem to recognize you immediately. They don't seem to recognize the name, although they also seem like they're busy. And there's a little bit of an interruption. Yeah.
What's the biggest thing on your list? And I'm talking about like a build list.
Oh.
I'll take care of this.
I mean, right now we got to make a pretty decent sized plow for decent sized plow.
I'll tell you what. The map, your wheelbarrow, and 3 weeks worth of rations, and I will bring you a plow worth 100 gold pieces within the hour. You can keep it all here. I'll go get it.
And I don't think I've ever seen a plow worth 100 gold pieces.
No, you haven't.
Solid gold.
It's not solid gold. Don't say that. Don't say that. No. It's not solid gold. It's definitely made of steel.
I'd be happy to trade the wheelbarrow for a plow. I could make that trade.
This is a plow that will last you longer than any other plows that you've made.
I'm not doing any plowing.
It also comes with the yoke.
It'd be maybe 20 gold pieces.
I mostly deal in rations. So that's like, what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Jesus.
He looks at you.
Rate.
Do you want rations or do you want gold?
Well, I want the wheelbarrow, the map, and then the rest I'll take in rations. I don't need gold.
We're not going to trade a plow for a wheelbarrow, a map, and a whole bunch of rations.
Alright, fine. How about I have this? Right. 2 weeks worth of rations and the map. And I'll get you a plow with threshers on it as well.
Wow.
Or
That doesn't...
What else you got on that list? Because you also got to think about how much time and effort that you'd be putting in, right? Your time is worth money.
You are costing it right now.
Exactly. But I can save you so much more in this one conversation. Any tools you need. When's the last time you had an afternoon off?
He looks very confused. He kind of like looks around. I can't be involved with somebody stealing things.
It's not stealing.
You have to understand how things are here.
Look.
I'm gonna just walk up and put 2 days worth of rations on the table, take the map, and walk away.
I start to follow her, and then I yell at them, this Miss Sear and that mud skipper is going to make great use of this map. Bye.
I think my mates just fucked me out of my idea to get my fair share of pay. But is there anything else you need?
I mean, we've got a good sized plow that we got to make. We have a handful of yolks that we got to make, and he kind of looks over a list. 45 hoes, and let's see, about 100 big old forks so that we can get the peat out.
As not a farmer, I'm picturing this tiny goblin picturing a bunch of prostitutes with sporks in their hands. And wondering, well, of course we didn't get enough food last year. This is ridiculous. What a horrible process that they've got. I'll tell you what will you give me for the plow again? 20 gold? Can I get that in rations instead?
Yeah.
Alright, what was that, 2 weeks worth?
That's about 2 weeks worth.
Alright, I'll be back in an hour.
He just looks really confused. Alright.
Ellie is still there.
I don't suppose you have caltrops?
Afraid don't follow.
Don't worry about it then.
How am I falling into the same? Okay. I'm afraid I don't. Okay.
Do you have arrows? And I need quality skinning knives.
Oh, skin and knife. You need just his voice. Pulls out one, sets it down. Looks like it's made from the handle. Looks like it's made from some sort of antler. Kind of hard to tell at a glance. A decent sized blade on it. It's a skinning knife. Sets that out.
I need a couple.
Yeah, I can get you a few arrows. I think we got some for the hunters in the back. Maybe a bundle of 20.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Okay. Whole lot will run you. I have no idea how much arrows cost. Do you know how much arrows cost? Sorry, this is out of game.
Yeah, it's been a while. Arrows. I want to say it's 2 GP a bundle or 2 silver. I'm all over the place. I need to just double check. 1 GP for a bundle.
Bundle 20. Yeah, I mean, if you're buying a bundle of 20, knife. No,
2 knives.
2 knives. 2 knives. I'd say you'd be good with about 1.5 gold.
You got yourself a deal.
Okay.
Then I will pay him 1.5 gold. Be like, oh, I bet these arrows are as quality as your cartography. And I just leave.
I just follow. At this point, it's this is just how this is gonna be.
You insulted my family.
All right, Derek. We'll say an hour passes.
I'm gonna go find Antosha.
Okay.
I need your help with a quick thing.
Yes,
Round
what
the
is
back
it?
of our little shack, there's a really ornate-looking plow with ingrain in the top of it looks like banded rope and there's wheat put in there as well. Anything to up the cost, as it were. I can't lift this. So I could use a hand taking it over to them. To the bit and bridle.
I will do my best.
And Natosha probably knows what's going on here because they actually saw me make that thing for them previously.
Yep.
The little statuesque.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if this seemed similar to me.
There's still red sparks kind of coming off it in different places.
All right.
Useful skill.
Yeah, you managed to drag it over easy enough. It's a little awkward, kind of just dragging this thing through town. And for the few people who are around, you do get some stares. Because somebody just having to drag a plow through town, it's happened. It's a farm town. No one has ever imagined seeing a plow like this. All of the filigree, fine etching, and it is functional. But it definitely looks like something that was designed to be like put on display or maybe even shown as like an oddity. But it is a functional plow.
What do I know about plowing? Walking up like that car salesman slapping the hood of the car. Soldier! Oh, a slap
This
right
can
next to
hold
the mic.
so many bodies.
You could plow so many fields with this bad boy.
But yeah, you walk up and they sorry, who was it? Stoll sees you coming up the next time and is
Close your mouth, your teeth will fall out. That's what my mum used to say. She had horrible tooth decay.
that's a plow.
And you turned down the yoke. Oof, imagine what I could do for 3 weeks' rations.
He counts out and hands you 20 gold. Or you wanted the rations, right?
Yeah, food, please.
Yeah. He writes up a certificate, and it's essentially a little certificate that is like, rations that were meant for him are going to you this amount, these many days. Stamp.
Thank you. I'll just put that on there. Can we borrow your wheelbarrow?
He looks at it. You replace it if something happens to it?
I'll do you one better. You let me have that one, and tomorrow I'll bring you the nicest wheelbarrow.
Could you bring us one that looks like that?
Yeah.
Could you just bring us one that looks like that?
I mean, I could, sure.
Just bring back the old one and keep the real pretty one.
Yeah, that sounds good. And he kind of like marks something in a book. He's like, you can borrow it.
I thought I got it. Isn't it mine now? And then I'll bring you a nice one tomorrow.
Oh.
Prove me craftsmanship. Slap, clang. Try running a persuasion check.
Go ahead.
Yes.
He's still a little dumbfounded of what has just been brought before him.
Listen, these yokels, that's a 17 plus 2, 19.
Wow.
Nice.
All right.
I'm a salesman.
He just
At knee height.
stares at it, and he like looks at his wheelbarrow. And he's, you know what? If you run off with it, it's going to be real hard for you to cash in those rations. So,
Sir, look
All
at my
right.
height. How the hell am I going to run off with it? I promise you, if any of these geezers who live in this town, all 7 of you, see this 3-foot nothing man running out of town, trousers round his arse, pushing a wheelbarrow above his head, you'll hear about it before I make the outskirts of town.
yours.
Unrelated, High Priestess, I would like it if you could push my wheelbarrow, please.
Fine. It's High Priest, by the
Sorry,
way.
High Priest. I apologize.
When you say high priest, the dwarf kind of like looks up and just notices your makeup. Are you going about in your makeup and your cloak, or how are you going?
Oh
about?
yeah, I mean, why not?
Full. Yeah. So your looks up and just kind of for the first time like gives a good look at you and realizes you have this like black upper half painted makeup as the high priest of the Asher, and is like, oh, uh, uh, mm, just nods and thank you for your patronage.
And Tosha's already like halfway out of the thing, just pushing the wheelbarrow.
Ooh, you fucked up. Trips on his own fucking shoes on the way out.
All right. So wheelbarrow in tow. You have a map. What is the next plan?
Do we need anything else? I don't think so.
Well, I can't make anything else for a day, so if you come up with anything.
So if
I got a
if
list.
you could make that plow, then why did we need the wheelbarrow?
Well, I was getting to that point.
All right.
Huh?
I don't
So
suppose
this
you
is
could
the
make
epitome
something
of
to
the
pull the
character in one
wheelbarrow.
interaction. I don't follow. We needed the plough so we could trade it for the wheelbarrow and some food. I got to put 2 weeks worth of rations on the table. See? And then now I got to make a wheelbarrow so I can borrow this one today.
Yep.
It's perfectly simple. Gets
Uh-huh.
distracted by a fly.
Should we visit that Findale to verify this map?
That's clever.
I would like to see what Findel has to say. Maybe the workers have seen something. Anything we can go on?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I didn't really want to talk to them since they didn't like mud. I've had my own problems with mud skippers, but Callie's a whole lot all right. So shame on them.
What problems have you had with mud skippers?
Do you listen when we go anywhere?
Mhm.
I mean, no, you. What problems you? Well,
Oh, well, mostly that they hate me, but that's
Oh.
true for most people a lot of the time.
I mean, you're pretty pleasant.
That's what I think.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard good rumors, I would say.
Well, thank you. I do what I can.
Historically speaking, mudskippers and mistseers do not see eye to eye, especially when it comes to the swamp.
Yeah, same with goblins and half-orcs. They're all bloody like 5 feet tall.
We are an unlikely bunch. Let's go talk to this person.
Mhm.
Findale?
Findel.
All right.
Descent.
All right.
Ayler's just
So-
in the back, his like far away look going on, trying to figure out why anyone would have a disagreement with someone over the horrible place that was the swamp. Is it that they're both trying to get out and it's a crab thing and they keep pulling the other person back in? Like he does not understand why you would fight over that place. It was horrible. They had a goat monster.
We have
Different
got
swamp.
monsters here.
This whole place is bad. He just wants to go home. This is all awful. Everything has been terrible.
That's not true. I'm very pleasant.
Well, I said everything, not everyone. You folks have been fine.
So, collecting yourselves up, wheelbarrow in tow, you start making your way over to the 3 fairly tall, it's kind of hard to tell if it's 2 or 3-story buildings from the way that on the one side that you're approaching from, there don't appear to be windows. And you do notice up here in the frozen north, there's a lot of buildings that don't have any windows. It's just not worth the loss. So as you approach, you can see there's a elf just sort of puttering around, putting up. You can see there's like a big old job board, and they're like hanging something up, and it looks like they've got like a few bits of wood and a hammer and some other gear, and it looks like they're kind of putting up their job posting and then possibly doing some repairs of the buildings or upkeep maintenance in this like pre-season start. As you approach, we're actually going to take a 10-minute break. We'll be back in 10. So go ahead. Now's your chance. You need to use the restroom, grab a drink, whatever. We'll be back in 10 minutes at 5 p.m. Or excuse me, well, if you're Pacific time, 5 p.m. We'll be back in 10 minutes on the hour. How's that?
All right.
Great, and I hope we are back. Thank you, Derek. You make your way up to the apiary, um, and you can see some elf kind of puttering around outside, getting prepared for the season.
Of course, they're everywhere.
As you approach, he's hammering up basically a list of work activities that are available to folks coming in. As your group of 5 approaches, he kind of pauses and turns around. Well, hello. You folks here for work?
No, not exactly. Here for some questions, though. Are you,
As you as
Fidel
you
Desant?
as you start speaking, he takes a knee and bows his head. Uh, High priestess or high priest. What are you? I'm sorry. I didn't know you were here.
Excuse me, are you Fendel?
I am.
Wonderful. We have some questions for you.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the high priest is okay if you stand up.
Okay.
Yeah,
He
this is not necessary now, but thank you.
he stands up, looks to you, and just touches his forehead. Um, yes, ma'am.
We got this here map, and we need to make sure that it's correct. And we heard that you help out the workers with getting maps initially so that they can get acclimated. And you can call me Mama. We just have this here map that the high priest has, and we were hoping that you would verify it for us.
Certainly, yes.
Is everything where they say it is?
You look at it. Oh, this is mine from last year. Yeah.
Well, then, fantastic. That feels already better.
Um, are you here for work? Will you be staying in the apiary?
No, we are actually searching for Baron Coletta. We heard she went missing. Have you seen anything? Have workers reported anything strange? Anyone going missing recently?
She's been gone a while. I heard. She went out with a bunch of her the Coralites, the keepers of the town. Um, and he kind of looks real uncomfortable. Um, the the Kashier, they keep their own guards. You probably know that. They're trained, furnished, maintained by the Temple of Corellin Lorethian. But of course, you know they pay their tithes to the Asher. They do as we are to do. Um, I don't want to. Um, that's not what you're here for. I'm sorry. What was the question again?
Does any of that mean anything to me?
Most of the folks out here, most of the landowners out here have some form of protection. Bastion furnishes protection in specific cases, um, but most of them maintain their own. You've only been in town, or you've been in town a few days. It's not a big town, and you have seen there is a temple to the Asher. Um, it is very small. It is not very well kept, and it doesn't really seem like folks are perhaps like pitching in to upkeep it, which is one of the requirements of living in Asher lands. Um, and there is while still small and modest, a much better maintained temple to Corel and Baratheon. Um, there are mixed understandings of what it means to live in Asher lands, and so some folks worry that Bastion will. You've heard this before. Folks worry that Bastion will come in with an iron hand and say you must worship the Asher, or you're not worshiping in the right way, or you're not paying enough in tithes. But it's not how your family has operated.
Yes. This is not why we're here, and is not of my concern right now.
Right. So she left town, a bit of a fanfare, I suppose, to go walk the fields, as they were saying. What officially the announcement was. The food last year, it rotted faster than it should. I don't know what that was about, but she had set out to find out, and was now that the cold is gone and it's a bit safer to walk. Still the wolves, of course, but there's beasts in those forests that are more active when it's more cold. She waited until it was safe, presumably, and went out with her guard to, I don't know what, make sure this didn't happen again. Set out for the forest. Supposed to see Greg. I don't know anything more than that. They sent a lot of Coralites into the forest. She went with a cadre of 6. Another 3 or 4 went a few days later when no one was heard. Another 3 or 4 later. There's maybe 5 trained men still in and about town. Of course, there's trainees, like every farmer who's tired of tilling the land and picking through the moss is able to try it. But no one that's trained and skilled really left. Besides the folks, I suppose, are probably keeping an eye on the keep.
Did you say no workers have noticed anything strange? Nothing in the soil, nothing.
There's only a handful of workers here so far this season.
No one's going out yet?
The fields, mostly now. Furbeard won't be taking workers for another few weeks at least. But with everything that's happened up in Greg's forest, we haven't been sending anybody up there. We haven't even heard from Greg. Yeah. Last season, I mean, workers have ghost stories. Strange things happen. The woods are dark at night. Nothing stands out as something that would have caused what happened.
You mentioned things going on in the forest, in Greg's forest. By that, do you just mean Paletta going missing? Or anything else?
No. The Baron missing is what I'm referring to. We haven't heard from Greg, and I'm not about to send the few workers that we got out right now up to Asher knows what.
So I have a question about the rot of the food. When the food rotted, did it almost disintegrate, or was it more just like a quick decay, or was it toxic in nature?
No, it just seemed like it naturally rotted, like it would. It just food that would keep for a week lasted hours off the vine. Food that would heap for a month. That lasted a few days. And it was a promising harvest. It was going to be a good year. That was what it looked like.
Do you recall anything strange that happened right before the rot? Any kind of unusual weather? Or...
No. Unusual weather. Nothing that stands out to me.
No lights in the sky
weather's
or anything?
but then he kind of like pales a little bit. Not in the summer.
Okay.
So-
Good to know. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, if you're looking for work, I'm the person for you. If you want to stay at the apiary, I can set you up with somebody, but I don't know how much else I can help you. Looks like you got one of my maps already.
Mm-hmm.
You
Well,
lose
you
that
were
one.
right
You can
helpful.
you lose that one. You can come and get one here. I give them out to the workers.
Just
Wonderful.
You're saying apiary, right? Like,
Apiary.
like where bees
Like-
are kept.
Yes.
And he's offering that we can stay with the bees.
So it's
worker
called
bees.
the apiary, but it's workers' housing.
They are the bees.
There it is.
They are the bees.
There it is. There it is. See, you just referred to it as the AP. I mean, you know what? Never mind. I'm just in character. We're good. There we go.
It is the apiary commons.
Got it.
Gotcha.
Got it. Got it. I'm like, why does this man keep offering for us to stay in the beehives? That sounds awful.
That checks out for Derek.
Unless one of the
Derek's
he's
like
post-
looking around for the bees.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I'm allergic.
He's posting on the job board. Is there anything that we're already doing that we could just pick up? Like just sort of
You
looking-
look at it. It is farm work. It's handwork. It's sowing, tilling, breaking up some of the underlayer of ice that doesn't want to break up in some sections of the farm. Real great, enjoyable work.
As tempting as the work and the housing sounds, I think we're going to have to go on this here task first. But we appreciate it.
Well, let me know if you're interested. We take all types. Folks who are more advanced in age, folks who are quite young. You're strong enough to work, we're happy to take you.
Thank you. I start walking any other direction, just anything. Just,
Yeah.
I'm just done, and I just pretty much wave and thank you, and time to go.
All right.
Grex is that way, right?
Greg is
This man?
just
I point in whatever direction would make sense.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, shall we?
Yes.
Let's go.
All right.
And you were told that the camp for Grex is about, because there is a
Okay.
camp, it's about a day's travel out of town. So you'll be taking a bit of a trip.
Who gets to push
What,
the wheelbarrow?
What time of day is it right now?
It's still mid-morning. You've been walking around talking to folk, but it's not a big town, and realistically, these are not that long of conversations.
Okay.
Oh, and you spent an hour making a very fine plow.
Best plow you've ever seen.
I'll push the wheelbarrow. I'm the extra body that just happens to be tagging along. Might as well.
Well, I'll sit in it then.
Okay. You sit in it, and I try to push it, and it doesn't move. I have -1 strength.
You can barely push the barrel. It like hits one patch of mud, and you're like, "That's all I got."
Oh, yeah, it's not gonna work.
Oh. All right.
Oh.
I'll off down and tell the ranger to do it.
No, I did not sign for barrow duty. I am
Excuse
up
me,
there.
we wouldn't have this wheelbarrow if it wasn't for my genius.
Congratulations. And I just walk out ahead to do like scouting.
Quick question. You have
What?
to make the wheelbarrow tomorrow, right?
Right.
Who's gonna push that wheelbarrow until we get back?
Well, I don't know. I can make
Something
it
to think
here.
on. Okay.
Oh, I should also probably tell them it's going to take 2 days if we're leaving it as a day there and a day back.
I think you can just deliver it when we get back. It'll be fine.
The less said, the better.
It's like 10 feet over there.
I turned to the priest and I said, "How long have you two been traveling together?"
I mean, it was probably like a week. Is that accurate, DM?
Since you've been in town, for about 5 days.
Yeah.
So collectively, it's been about 14 days that you've known each other.
Oh, 14 days, okay. Yeah, roughly 2 weeks. Why do you ask?
No reason.
It's like 2 years in, like, you people, like, years.
You know, that's a blink
time.
for me, but that's an age for others. So, you know, it's what it is.
Be the way around, right? Anyway, Grex, let's
So
go
we should
check out
probably
woods.
start heading toward the woods, I would imagine.
Yeah, there's a dirt path that leads out of town, kind of curves around. There's a little bit of a palisade on the north side, specifically, of the keep. And so the dirt road kind of circles around these wood out, like spikes, essentially, and takes a path loosely described in the map that you have.
From where we are and where we're going into the woods, how much further, hypothetically, would it be to the general area of that appearing castle fortress thing?
You have no idea. You have to talk to the Baron about it.
Gotcha.
We gotta rescue, because we're not talking to that child again. I was good. I was very nice.
You
I have no notes.
highly pleasant. Mm-hmm.
Making your way into the woods. Go ahead and give me a marching order. Who's up front? Who's in the middle? Who's in the back?
Ellie will go up front to try to find the path and scout.
Middle.
I guess I can be towards the back.
And you're walking through some woods. You're not necessarily like scrunched up in a single file line. You can glom up.
I'd be behind Callie, but not very close to the front.
Okay.
Yeah.
Derek, where are you?
Next to Antosha if they're pushing the wheelbarrow along, just so I don't feel bad for making a high priest push a wheelbarrow along.
Like that all the rest of us are also making Antosha push a wheelbarrow because...
I mean, if it's empty, I could probably push the wheelbarrow. Once we put stuff in it,
I don't
I'm not going to be able to push the
volunteering to
wheelbarrow.
push the wheelbarrow this time.
I was told we needed a wheelbarrow.
I pushed
My
it
part
back.
in this jigsaw puzzle is complete.
I will happily push the wheelbarrow up until the point where I am no longer physically capable of doing it.
Sounds good. And I will memorize all of your names eventually, including apostrophes. Okay. So, making your way into the forest, I need somebody to roll a d12.
Ooh.
And for those of you who this is your first game with me, if you are in a normal traveling place where it's not particularly dangerous, but there are dangers of the road, you roll a d12. A 12 is something bad, and 11 is something less bad. If you are in a more dangerous place, those numbers could change. It could be as low as a 6, or an 8, or a 4, and I will let you know what that is before you roll it. So somebody roll me a d12. It is still late. It's late spring, which is still very wintry here. It is still pretty dangerous. So on a 8+, you will have an encounter.
Okay.
Out of curiosity, for those of us who are like scouting or looking around, should we be rolling like perception checks in advance of just like on the off chance we see something?
I will have you roll perception checks.
Gotcha.
Okay. Who's rolling the 12?
Mama.
I'll roll it. It's a 5.
It's a 5.
That's good.
Well, it's
Yeah.
better than an 11.
Yeah.
Or 12.
I mean, low number's good, then yeah.
That's true, yes.
So you make your way about half a day's travel into this forest. At first, the going is pretty easy. The dirt pack is pretty good. It hasn't really muddied up too much, but maybe an hour or so in, it does start to get pretty muddy, and the ground starts to get squishy. You kind of lose track of the dirt, and it's more of a thick moss that you're walking on at this point. Um, you can see a number of berries just growing everywhere in this forest. It looks like the thaw has brought some of them out pretty quickly. I would like anyone keeping an eye out to go ahead and make a perception check. Up to 2 people. So who's keeping an eye out?
Kelly,
I have a +3. I don't know who might have better.
5.
I don't know how perceptive. Oh, I got a +4.
Probably
Let me see.
blistering.
Nope, I rolled it's a 12 total. So I rolled an 8. 12.
Alex?
15 plus 5, dirty 20.
Dirty 20.
Yay.
Well,
So, Callie, you're keeping an eye out. You do notice a number of spots where there's like little bits of tufts of fur, where it looks like maybe some sort of canine creature might be shedding its winter coat. You see that in a few areas, and the number that you see, it either means there's like one good-sized pack operating out here, or a number of small packs. So there's definitely wolves about, and in decent numbers. Mama, it's just not your home bog.
yeah.
Yeah. But relatively uneventful in the first 4 hours or so of your travel. I need somebody else to roll for the next.
Another
Pretty
D12.
good.
If it's been 4 hours, I'll take over for Elar on the wheelbarrow, because I actually have a +1 strength. It's just more of a height thing, so I won't see where I'm going. If we stop abruptly, I'm going into somebody's cast.
I do like that the
Oh.
2 of us are the ones who are probably like the most physically unlikely to be doing this.
I tie a rope around the
team players.
handle of the wheelbarrow, and I tie the rest of the rope around the goblin's waist. And I have him just pull it.
Instead of push.
Yeah.
So you made a plow, and now you've made a
I've made
plow.
another plow.
I was gonna say I can stand. I'll stand behind and kind of look out over top of the wheelbarrow, walk behind, and kind of.
Run into anything.
Yeah, tell Derek if go left, go right, whatever. Stop.
I can roll a D12 if you want.
You're the lead, right?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It is a 6.
It is a 6.
Uh-oh.
So, traveling along, you see the sun is going down pretty early. Callie, very early from what you're used to. Being this far north, it's a little unsettling how short the day is for you. But at the same time, keeping a keen eye out, you don't notice anything in your travels that costs you or causes you any issue. Who's keeping an eye out during this? Who's watching?
I'll roll
Kelly
this
and
time.
Mama
There's
again?
like a 1 point difference
I'll
between me
roll
and
again.
Mama.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
good.
no, you want to do it.
I got a 24.
Nice.
Well, damn.
Don't think I can.
That
Is
was
that
a
a
nat
nat 20?
20 for me, yeah.
Coming in close. 18 plus 5, 23.
The next time I attack
Ooh.
something, it'll be a 1. So.
Nah, you'll be fine.
All right. So,
Don't jinx it.
with a 23 and a 24, you feel that you are pretty safe as far as nothing sneaking up on you, keeping an eye. But both of you notice 2 key things. One in the distance to the... Yep, I still have to do this. To the east, you find you notice just 2 wolves. About as far as you can see through the forest, given all the trees. They trot past you. They don't seem to give you any mind. Maybe 100 foot away.
We going for it?
They don't seem to turn and come at you or really give you too much notice. You also notice a number of weird feathers.
Oh, great.
The feathers are the actual like pin of the feather is very long, almost half the length of the feather itself, and it almost is claw-like in how sharp and strong the pin itself is. The feather coming off the back, you can see it starts off kind of like a thick and ruffly feather, but as it gets near the end, the little bits of feather actually fuse together, and by the very tip of it, it almost looks like a scale. It's very thick for a feather, heavy for what you would think, and pale in color, like a gray, a mix of grays and whites in the feather. You see a number of these around as you're kind of like picking through the moss.
Can we bring those back to the priest? And because the priest and goblins seem to be locals, so if it's not something Mama and I know naturally, can we like put our heads together to try to identify what this might be from? So I'm more worried about this than the wolf.
I want one for a hat. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take a look at it to see if I recognize it at all.
Yeah, so knowledge nature for any 2 people who have it, as you're kind of like putting your heads together.
I have it.
I do too.
Oh, well.
No, you go. Go, Mama.
I'm not proficient.
Okay.
Yeah,
so Mama and I.
Yeah, because I rolled a 2. That's, I know my dice. So that makes it a 6.
Oh,
it's real pretty, though. It's a real pretty feather.
Kiss guidance on Kelly.
Oh,
nailed it.
Thank you. All right. Thank you.
I was like, don't I have a spell for this? Oh, I do.
I do. All right, so that's 11 plus 4 plus another d4. So 15 plus 1, 16.
16.
Yeah.
I mean, from it kind of looks like a cockatrice feather, but like only kinda. It's if you saw this where you come from, you would be like, this is not a cockatrice. Like, but it kind of looks like that.
Okay. But I would get the sense that whatever dropped these feathers is probably more dangerous than your standard wolf.
Whatever dropped these feathers is
nice.
probably more dangerous than a bird that would drop a similar sized feather.
Yeah, it's a big old
It's hard to
feather.
say more dangerous than a wolf. You're not sure what it's from.
Sure.
As the person in this group who's probably the least experienced with hunting, are we making a play for those wolves? Do we want to try to get them now and bring them back, or are we just gonna say worry about that later?
What wolves?
I mean, we are potentially borrowing trouble with something else in the area.
I mean, if you want to do it on the way back after finding this elf who can tell you where the spooky castle in the north is, I have no complaints. I just want to know what we want to do.
Mm-hmm. Near as I can tell, there are plenty of wolves.
Even
and it's
though
getting
we've only
dark.
Seen 2, but...
We have wolves at home. We can get them later.
We have wolves at home.
Yeah, I think ignore the wolves for now. Watch for something in the trees or sky.
Mm-hmm.
And should we find a place to rest? It gets dark here so fast.
How far away is Grex?
Or the camp, anyway.
I mean, your map leaves something to be desired when it comes to accuracy and scale. But from what you've been told, it should be within a day's travel. At this point, when you saw these wolves, when you noticed these feathers, you're about 6 hours in. you do make it another 2 hours before having to roll again. So.
Mhm.
When you say it's getting dark, is it impeding our vision at all?
Not yet, but it approaches very quickly. So like you still have about 2 more hours of travel. It'll probably start impeding your vision maybe in the next 30 minutes.
Okay. So maybe continue on looking for a place to potentially bunker down in case we don't make it the full 2.
I mean, what's wrong with here?
Aside from it's open, there's feathers and wolf fur. Nothing.
Oh. I assume he's like on a rock and the ground is like this. Like it's.
I'll cast light on the wheelbarrow so we can at least see where we're going for a bit longer.
There we go.
We've got a headlight.
Aylar's like halfway into his bag to pull out the lantern, the 2 lanterns, because we got the extra one, and just puts it back because that's useless now.
Now you all can see.
Yeah.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I could see anyway. But thank you.
Hang on. Does the entire party have dark vision?
I mean, it would give us disadvantage on like perception anyway if we're seeing in the dark because I like how the low light stuff works. So it's not bad to have light, especially if we're on the lookout for
Danger.
not cockatrices.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, cockatrices.
Well, let's just keep going a little further. Get
Yep.
away from the weird feather things. Thank you, Derek,
Yep.
for the light.
All
I
right.
figure if we're looking for like a specific area to like hunker down, it'd be nice if we could see it.
See it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 Good
Uh,
point.
You make it about 2 more hours, and just as you're starting to look for a place to hunker down, you can make out what look like large shadows in the distance. At first, you kind of like approach with caution until you can make out, okay, this is a building. There's a building coming up. And you can see there's as you approach, there's a number of small buildings built on stilts out here. Looks like about 7. Similar, simple design as the buildings of the apiary, but much smaller and on stilts because fog. As you approach, you see that there's a big fire pit kind of built up in the center, stones stacked on each other, the remnants of a fire in the middle, and there's one it looks like human or elf laying on the ground. You can see it looks like they've been torn open. They've probably been here for some time.
Oh.
Weirdly, you can see their arm has been ripped away from, not weirdly, but like one arm has been ripped away from the body, but most of the soft bits look like they've been claimed by the forest. It's
So this
been
is
there
not
a few days.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quick question
Yeah.
for Derek and Tosha. Out of curiosity, what do the Corelites tend to wear? Is there like a not a tabard, but a vestment or something in particular?
Do I know what Borelites wear?
Not
Not really
first
my
hand.
church, but
I was going to say, not first hand. Do you have knowledge religion?
I do.
I do.
Hey, there you go.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
It's too dark in my room. I can't read. Oh, that's a natural 1. That's a 5 total.
Nice.
Like,
Or what?
I don't know,
can see they're not
That's a
cockatrices.
19.
19. You know they're depicted as wearing like golden armor, the god like is very much, shiny, god of the sun sort of look to them. Not actually god of the sun, but like very, very shiny, very gold, very white. This person is certainly not as depicted, as a champion of Corellan Lorethian or something like that. But they do appear to, some of their garb appears to be yellow, probably dyed. But their garb is overall fairly simple. They had a light metal armor, kind of cobbled together with some leather that has been torn open. There's one. You know what? Give me an investigation check. Whoever's like looking this over closely.
I'll go for it. Just as I have, unless somebody else has a pretty good investigation score.
That would not be me.
I can help you, because Callie's up there, but other than that, no, I don't have it.
I'd appreciate it.
Help.
Guidance.
Sure.
Oh, I have
No.
Oh.
Two people can roll.
Oh.
Or one person rolls. Not with advantage. Just two people can roll.
Oh.
Gotcha. Okay.
I pat someone on the back and I go, guidance.
Okay. Somebody else can also roll, and then we both get guidance.
Okay.
Okay. In that case, I'm gonna get a 14.
Proficient?
Yes.
Oh, that I'm not proficient. I don't have proficiency.
I'm not.
I don't think anybody but Aylar is. Are they?
Looks like it.
14.
14.
With the D4.
Yeah, it helped a lot. It would have been an 11 otherwise, so.
You're not sure what type of claw or tooth or weapon would have damaged some of the armor and the bones in the way that it did. You're just looking at it and you're like, it's been picked over, it's been gnawed on, it's kind of hard to make out exactly. But something damaged this really badly before all these little chew marks.
Okay, so it's
can't really make out what was doing it.
So one big thing and then scavengers.
Yeah.
Does it seem to resemble, or does it look similar to what happened to our guard on the way here?
No, not at all.
No. Okay, totally different.
There's no ice. Doesn't look like any like frost damage around the area. Doesn't look like the body has been frozen. None of those features.
As I'm piloting it down, do I find like a holy symbol or a note, anything in the pockets?
Yeah, with your roll, you would find a holy symbol of Corellan Lorethian on this person.
Okay.
There's a short sword that actually has a symbol like the star symbol on the pommel. It's a very simple sword, but it does have a symbol stamped in the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
On top of what may have been hanging around their neck or hanging from their armor in some way. No notes or anything of the sort.
Okay. I'll take the like identifying stuff just to bring back and be like, hey, we found this person. But yeah.
Give me the ruined armor real quick. If you can slot it off the half of him that's left.
Yeah, sure. Here you go.
I'll cast mending on it, and then just like under his breath, Derek's like, "There's 10 gold." And huck it in the wheelbarrow.
I'd like to knock an arrow just in case. I don't know that anything is around, but I'd rather not chance it and just sort of pad further into the camp to try to look for more tracks, like signs of the creature or signs of where the other people that might have been here went.
Okay. Give me a survival check.
Okay.
Actually, thinking back, you could probably use survival for that other roll as well. But we're past it. So.
Guidance.
Thank you.
I like how helpful Derek is. Have you tried looking in all the corners?
That is a 14 plus 5 is 19, plus 4 is 23.
Well, okay.
Don't know how good Derek.
Well, okay. It looks like there was some sort of struggle here. And it looks like a handful of folks went running westward out of the camp. And among those folks with that role, it looks like some of them were wearing armored boots and of that type, probably similar to what this person is wearing, or was until very recently. And one set that is distinctly lighter and is wearing some other kind of boot that steps softer, and it's actually kind of hard to pinpoint exactly where their tracks are. You see it in some thicker patches of mud where some of the moss gives way to mud as this like hill is, or as this is kind of like built on a hill. So you can see it in a few of those spots, but like in most of it, it's actually really hard to pick out.
But no creature tracks.
No creature tracks. You do see a
that.
number of small. You see a number of small animals have been through here recently, so it looks like you can kind of pick out. Oh, that looks like a badger came and chewed on this dude. Wolves have definitely been here a few times. Were they here when this happened? It's really hard to tell at this point. This happened clearly days ago. And more bird feathers. It almost looks like the print of a chicken foot, but whereas that would be fairly small and spindly. This print is about 10 inches long.
Okay. Chicken foot track. All right. Yeah, I imagine Callie's kind of reenacting the scene as she's discerning the tracks like the prince does in Princess Bride, where they had the sword fight on the cliff. It's like one ran off that way and the other had like a heavier bundle and went that way. And then there's these weird chicken tracks. Like some big bird. So here we are again.
Are there any dry sticks? Or dry moss?
There's outside. You can see there where some wood has been stacked up to dry. It's been covered with a skin, just a kind of cheap, quickly made leather to keep the snow off the top. Yeah, it's a small stack. It looks like it's been mostly worked through from last season.
Well, I'd take a couple of sticks of it, and then I do a druid craft to light the campfire in the pit.
Okay, you place them in there. Easy enough. You actually have some tinder on you, some moss that's been dried and is good to get it going.
Are we planning to stay the night here?
Oh yeah.
In that
Stay
case,
outside if you want.
no. What I mean is, wouldn't it be safer to be up there?
Well, I'm
Needs
just
the-
lighting a fire. It just seems a bit cold and dark.
Oh,
Fire's good to keep wolves away.
Would not argue.
How old were those tracks that you saw, Kelly?
Old DM?
So the wolves, it looks like they've recently come and gone a lot over weeks. Not just this week, but some of them are quite old. This camp is probably mostly abandoned outside of season. You see the tracks of the bird things. You see a number of them. Again, some of them, you don't seem to see any that are as old as the older wolf tracks, so they seem to be fairly recent. But yeah, the most recent ones look like they might have been from today, and the oldest ones look like they might have been here about 10 days ago.
Are there any weird,
People
like,
is what I meant.
chicken?
I meant, sorry, the people, like the foot tracks.
Oh, the people, sorry. The people was about 5 days ago.
Okay.
Are there any weird, like, chicken talon marks on stairs, or what goes up to the houses on stilts? Is it like stairs? Is it a ladder?
Stairs.
Okay. Do they have any like weird chicken talon marks on the stairs?
They don't look particularly well kept, but it doesn't. Stairs is generous. It's more like a ramp, but like you look at it, it doesn't have a lot of. It doesn't have a lot of scratches. There are scratches on the stairs.
Yeah.
They've been here for ages.
There's not like random feathers all over them or something like, they clearly went this way. They're waiting for us upstairs. Yeah, no, I'm immediately gonna head up and like try to take a look at the, if not like actual warm shelter, potential cover from whatever did this. I'm just gonna go with the idea that being off the ground would be safer, and just Aylar's just immediately gonna head up there.
Yeah, the door swings open. It has a latch, and when you go inside, you notice that there is a lock on the inside, but it is unlocked. You see in this small building, there's about 12 cots set up. It looks like the whatever hay or straw or that they have put in here has not been renewed for the year, so it's a bit cold, it's a little damp, kind of stinks, but there's accommodations.
Okay.
And there is at the center, you can see there's some, it's like thatched roof, but there's like a little bit of a gap up towards the top, towards the center, and towards the center of this room, there's like a small spot for warming fire for the building.
Yeah. If no one's around with me, I'm gonna immediately pocket that lock just because that could come in handy later. But
like it's like a latch that you like lift and it's not like a padlock.
it's got a slide bar. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I thought you meant like a lock. I was like, ooh.
No.
All right. I take the latch. No. Just rip it off the wall. Yeah. If can we check like the other buildings just to see if there's anything, or is it just the one, or is there multiple of these?
There's I said earlier, and I don't remember what I said. And
There's 7 of them. Okay,
7,
yeah.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any objections to checking them just to see if there's anything, like if there's a note here that can go in the codex that says, we were attacked by big scary bird monsters, or like, that kind of thing. Just like trying to see if there's anything that we could possibly. Yeah, just checking the area, see if there's anything.
I think we should check. Maybe. I mean, who knows? Somebody could still be in there. We might find anything.
Yeah.
We should definitely all split up and take one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's 7 of us. Wait. The wheelbarrow takes one building.
You work your way through, and they all look very similar to the one that Aylar found. Empty, not ready for the season yet, except one. You can see that there's the sort of setup of the fire pit. There's a steel bowl just centered in the room with a bunch of rock in the bottom. This one actually has sticks, a couple of logs similar to the ones that are outside as well, that have been burned not recently, but certainly more recently than the others that look like they've been cleared out completely. Maybe in the last month or so. And you can see that there's one of the beds, one of the cots, has like fresh lining on it. There's a small footlocker that does have a padlock on it, which is locked. And a little notebook next to a little notebook and a little lamp next to that bed.
Immediately pulling out the thieves' tools, but what's in the notebook?
Here, I'm gonna read this. Anyway, you walk up to the notebook. It's just leather bound. You kind of unwrap it a bit, open it up, and at first, give me actually, with your background, you kind of recognize that this is, at first you're just like, this is all nonsense. And then you realize, oh, wait, this is, somebody looks like they're keeping track of like when things are planted and where they're planted, but in a very strange way. You're looking, and it's like sort of a ledger, but next to any updates, there's just a whole bunch of notes regarding what they had seen that day, what was going on in that quadrant, and you can see there's like notes about the most. Do you start at the front or do you start at the back?
Oh, I started at the back.
Okay, so the last note that you see in there, there's something about the cranberries in like the far east of the forest. It seems like the mound has sunk and it's kind of screwing with their growth this year, or it might. And mentions something. It's almost like a narrative of crop rotation. But it mentions also there's been a lot more of those birds, the ones from the mountains. I saw one of them bite a wolf and turn it to stone earlier. Gonna continue keeping my distance.
The corpse we found wasn't stone.
The corpse you found was not stone.
Okay. Birds from
the sound of
mountains.
that.
Turn.
Not good.
As you're
Like
flipping
that.
back further, you see there's a lot of complaints about like why are there so many wolves, and you kind of keep going, and like it's basically like the winter's been very cold. It's been very hard. The food keeps rotting that he picks. The beasts that he's killing, the meat rots very quickly, even though it's kept in the ice. And all of that seems to stop, or excuse me, all that seems to start the rotting and things as you're going backwards. After there's just one blank page, and it just says, long night at keep. And the next page back is when it starts talking about, I killed a wolf today and the meat was rotten by the evening. Or, I've been trying to make bread from this moss and it just goes rancid before I can even get to the point of making it. And so there's a lot of notes about that. But it, chronologically, it seems like that all stops at the long night.
So the rotting stops at the long night. After that, nothing's mentioned, or it starts
After that, there's nothing else mentioned about rotting.
Okay.
Just going on about crop rotation, going on about and talking about hunting. And there's one point like after the long night that they talk about like hearing meat and whatnot. So it seems like they were able to get back to normal after that.
So a bunch of like weird stuff involving the food was happening, long night, and then suddenly now there's weird birds and a lot of wolves.
And suddenly now there's a lot of wolves and there's some weird birds, but nothing else about the food.
Yeah, cool. Great. I'll pick a lock.
This world just gets weirder and weirder.
Go and pick the lock.
Yay! Ooh, that's gonna be nice. All right, 16 plus. No, I'm not expertise in it. Perfect. Okay, cool. That is going to be a 22.
All right, so 22. You sit down and you look at it, and it looks like it's going to be a bit difficult because it's so rusty. But as you kind of like move it around, you're like, no. You use these as training locks. Like you sit there and you're like, oh, it's rusty, so I can bypass this and just kind of poke here and it pops open. It takes you almost 30 seconds.
I'm getting slow. And to get back in practice. Pull that open the chest, hoping against hope that it's not trapped, because why would it be? And just immediately throw it open, take a look, see what's inside.
You open, it's a footlocker. So you can see in there, it looks like there's a change of heavy clothes for a human-sized person, but probably small. You can the clothes look relatively small. Besides that, there's some dried meats that are kept in there, a little bit of kindling, and a very finely made mirror.
Ooh.
It looks to have a pearl or stone handle that goes up into some sort of fine metal around the edges. And when you flip it over, it actually has some sort of plaster or clay, and it has seashells set into it.
Do the clothes look like they would have fit the person outside?
No.
Okay.
This.
I really want to have a conversation with one of these wolves.
You can do that?
Well, it takes me about. Well, it requires a ritual, but
Okay.
yes.
Can you talk to the birds?
Well, it kind of depends on the bird. They got a lot of dialects.
Don't get me even started on pigeons. You got dove, you got pigeon itself. There's like, oh man, no. Okay.
How many birds you talk to?
I know. It's not the accent. It's not Alar saying stuff. Okay. Yeah. Alar just nods as though like this makes sense. That yes, you could talk to animals. Yes, sure. Okay. Cool. This is a thing that we're working with now.
As you're kind of like digging around here, and you've set this fire at the center of the camp. After about 20 minutes or so of rummaging around, Alar, you've just sort of kind of like been going through this footlocker. Caligo, you're taking your walkabout. You hear something rustling in the forest.
Well, all right. I'm just gonna kind of do like a little bird call, something that's like something from the swamp that Mama would recognize, to alert her that something's happening, and then knock that arrow and keep an eye out. I don't want to shoot an innocent correlate, but I also don't want to get clawed by a bird. So
Derek gets on the
we're
bush
gonna-
pulling up his pants. Ah.
yeah.
Caligo, give me a perception check.
Okay. Here we go. Okay. 16 plus 5, 21.
21.
Yeah.
So looking out into the forest, right about 50 foot or so from you, you see at first you're not sure what, but they move about and they're kind of looking in your direction. As they're looking, you realize that they don't think you can see them, but they look like probably maybe half orc, maybe an orc. They've got kind of a spade in one hand, just a big, heavy spade in one hand. There's a pack slung over their back, and they've got all of this moss just sort of like dangling off of them, almost like backcountry ghillie suit. And he's just sort of like creeping up, and you can hear him muttering to himself, "Well, who's at my camp?
Oh.
Who's at my camp?"
I'm gonna sort of use my ability to like obscure myself, but then call out.
Mm-hmm.
If your name is Greg, we are friends. And we mean you no harm.
If your name is not Greg.
Yeah, well, I still have an arrow like ready to go.
You say that, he looks around. Go ahead and give me your stealth check.
Okay. That's a D12. That won't help me.
All right.
All right, here we go. Let's see. How did we hide? Ooh, 18 plus 6. Pretty well. 24.
Yep, not even looking at you. Like if you're 12 o'clock, looking at about 3 o'clock. Where are you at? What you doing in Greg's camp?
looking for the Baron. And I'm gonna kind of like circle around, just sort of slowly move, just in case he isn't who I want him to be. I'd rather have the drop on him than he on my friends.
He's kind of creeping in towards the camp. Heard a scuffle there a few days ago. I don't know if it was them birds, wolves,
Mm.
but you ain't birds or wolves.
Caw.
What you
Sure.
doing at my camp?
I thought I did say, looking for the Baron. She came by.
You go to the keep for the Baron. You go to the camp for work.
Right, but you'll see, there's been a scuffle here, and a Coralite is dead, and the Baron, she's missing. So, I guess I'm just sort of getting closer to him.
Mhm. He's still
So if
kind of
you-
looking around.
Yeah.
Why is there a correlate in the camp? Why are you talking about the Baron?
People in this town don't listen. She came for a walkabout to inspect things after last year, and has not come home. It looks like she made it here and no further.
Looking around. Oh, there ain't a dead noble in my camp, is there?
Not so far.
Okay. I can't deal with that. Okay.
We could use your help.
Am I allowed to see you?
They'll just like step out like right beside him, like just be like, oh, hi.
He like holds up the spade defensively. Does not look like he knows how to use it as a weapon.
Yo, no, there's no harm here. And I'll just kind of like bat it on the side, like, no need.
Yeah,
I hear voices and start like
yeah.
shambling out.
Shambling.
Yeah, I'll come to check
You
this
know
out
what
too.
time it is?
Yeah.
Keep it there.
What in hell? What? Who are you?
I do believe this is Mr. Garrick?
Rick.
Greg.
Yeah.
Oh, we were looking for you.
Well, I thought you were looking for the Baron.
We are, but we
Oh,
were
okay.
looking to ask you questions.
Well, I'm here.
Can I loop
heard
my
she
arm
was-
through his? Sorry, like a southern lady, and just like escort him into the camp, like his own camp.
He like tries to resist a little bit, and then
No.
it's just like, and then walks in. Like, what the hell am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a dead guard in my camp.
Mm.
Yeah,
Why is there a dead guard in my camp?
I was hoping you could tell us. Have you seen anything around recently? Have you seen Baron?
They told me the Baron wanted to talk to me about last year's harvest. We all know what the problems have been. I don't know what more I could tell her than what I already told her. They asked me to come to the keep, and I only but go there once a year. Been
When
out.
did they ask you to go to the keep?
Oh. Still frost. 3 weeks ago. 4.
Okay, when did the Baron go missing? It was like a
Like,
week ago?
a week ago.
Like between 5 days and a week ago.
Okay, so like they asked him to come, they had a conversation, and then she was coming out again. Did
Someone sent for him.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you did not personally see the Baron come here
No,
to check on this place.
I've been checking the borders. Birds coming down from the mountains, the wolves.
What kind of
I
birds
can't
are
be
these
having workers
exactly?
come out here if people are going to die.
Yeah.
What?
What kind of birds are they? The kind of like scaly, sorta.
Kinda. Scary. Got sharp beaks, sharp claws. Saw him turn a wolf to stone once. That was weird. Yeah, I give them their distance. And he kind of shakes his little like moss suit.
I like your suit. It's a good look.
Kept me alive.
You said that the footprints of the people that were like armored or whatever that Iligo saw was about 5 days old?
Looks like it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which would track timeline-wise.
Can I do an insight check on Greg? Like, just like having, was he really gone, not seeing anything, or is he like trying to lie about something?
Do it.
Double checking. How do you want to do this? Like, is there a way for us to do like help to give someone advantage on the roll, or do you want someone else to roll if two people are doing insight checks?
If two people are proficient, those two people can roll it. Okay. There's like a handful of things that anybody can roll for. But generally speaking, like when it's like insight, there's not really a help action for that.
Okay.
But if you're like putting something together, trying to climb up a wall, like you can help each other with things like that.
Sure. Do you mind if I roll?
Yeah.
16 for me.
All right.
I'm really, really good with people out in the woods.
Yeah.
I got a 9.
All right.
I forgot to cast guidance.
It would not have helped. It's a 13 max.
I'm using the wheelbarrow as a light for the interrogation. Where were you 5 days ago?
16. He seems to be trying to take stock of all of you. He seems to be trying to read you and figure out if you're lying to him or trying to set him up. He seems genuinely confused by what's going on.
We were sent here by Antonia.
Good.
Yeah.
Why?
To find her mother.
Yeah, her mama's gone
Who's
missing.
here.
The Baron?
The Baron.
Oh. The
We
Baron.
We were hired to find her.
Did you not know that the Baron was the mother of the... like...
No. It seems that you were telling me that the Baron came to this camp.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not something the Baron does.
It's a bit weird, yeah.
So...
And yet...
that is my confusion.
Okay, well, it looked like there was a big fanfare. I'm Mama, by the way, since we're all getting acquainted. So,
You're not the Mama.
Yeah. One and only.
He just like gives you a hug. It is just like, oh, I heard such good stories.
Just the arm still linked.
I still have his arm. Like, oh, okay, we're hugging now. All right.
Good on you, Callie. All right. So, Greg, what we heard, and I mean, you know, I have stories, but like I've heard nothing like the stories what y'all have. So this here Baron is doing a walk around the farms with a bunch of people, and there was a big fanfare about it. And then somewhere along that place, she went missing. And no one's been able to find her. And they keep sending guards into the woods, and nobody can find them. But now we're not sure. We're trying to find her and track her down so that wonderful Baron can, you know, find her mama.
All right.
They're interesting folk, aren't they?
Yeah. Never understood the elves over here. So.
You and me both.
Elf, half elf.
Right.
Those elves are different, honey. It's okay.
They're different. Yeah. Well, if they were running from here, if there was a scuffle, There's a lot of the workers know about. There's a cave not too far from here. It's somewhere that occasionally we've had to hole up because things happen out here.
Mm.
Um, if any of the soldiers know anything about it, they might have headed there. Just due west of here.
That tracks.
With the
West.
tracks.
Well,
Do you-
Greg,
Sorry.
go ahead, Callie.
No, after you.
Oh, I'm just making more conversation. You go ahead with your question.
I just wondered if he could take us there tomorrow in the morning when we can see.
Yeah, I could point it out to you. Sometimes beasts will take up residence there in the winter time because it's safe. I won't be going in because of that, but I can point it out to you. Easy enough.
From
Well,
what
we would
can-
sure appreciate your guidance.
All right. Well, I'd sure appreciate you keeping whatever this noble business is away from my business.
What can
Understood.
what can you tell us about
Speaking-
what's happened with the food this past year?
It rots. It rots when you take it off the vine. It rots when you pick it out the ground. It rots when you skin it off the beast. I don't know why.
Is it still doing that?
No, it's not. Hasn't in a while. But if it starts up again this year,
It'd be bad.
it ain't gonna be better than last year. That's for sure.
And you say you don't know what started it. Do you remember around when it started, or notice anything
just-
weird?
Just before the big harvest, towards the end of the summer. I mean, we have harvests all summer, of course, but depending on what you're taking in. But in particular, the grasses, folks who don't like living in the trees here, those don't. The hay, the wheat, barley. I don't know. When that time came, then we started threshing. Well, we didn't. Folks did. Folks started threshing. All the food started to rot then.
You don't remember any strange weather, creatures, anything strange in the soil? Nothing?
Nothing that calls out to me. I mean, the strange thing was the food rotten. That's what it was.
It's just shocking. It really is.
Strange to see. Scary.
Well, probably not anything we're going to be able to do about it tonight. So, tomorrow we follow these tracks, try to figure out where these people left. I mean,
Yeah.
this doesn't, and this is sort of like the whole group. This isn't one of the like backup guards. This is one of the correlates that the Baron left with, right?
Presumably.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'll share with the party that,
Mhm.
you know, what I noticed about the colors, that
yeah.
it's not my faith, but it looks like the colors of those who worship.
I mean, Greg looks at it, and that's a core line.
Yeah.
You can tell.
If they've only got about 5 days ahead of us, and it looked, I think you said that this was like about 5 days old. If we go on from here, hopefully we'll be able to find them, bring them back, get the answers Mama needs, and move on from there. So, and maybe the Baron will be able to tell you more about the food rotten, but I don't know if there's much more we can do tonight, unless anybody has an idea.
I think Greg, if you'd be so kind, we would love to stay here in your camp.
Oh yeah, one of them buildings all set up. Let me get some. I got some extra straw over here. Let me go grab mine. And he just like kind of walks around the backside to start like pulling straw and things like that to fluff out the cots. Towards that one that you had recently explored thoroughly, Alar.
I'll help him lug stuff in.
No. Did you lock that all back up, Alar?
The one oh
Foot locker?
the foot locker?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I didn't take anything out of the foot locker just because with the corpse, like we knew that, you know, that person's not coming back for their stuff. We might as well like take it back. The notebook I did would I have kept it or left it? I would have left it. There's nothing. So there doesn't seem to be anything deeper in it that would have been specifically useful to me. I think we got all the information out of it. That no, everything else would have been left.
Cool. So he goes in there and he just starts like bringing just big old handfuls and dropping down some. At first, like he's got big handfuls of moss and then tops that like dried moss and then tops that with the little bit of. All right. Maybe. Bed down for the night, head out once it's warm in the morning.
For a day's rations, I'll get rid of that body for you.
I don't pay
It's not just...
in rations.
What do you pay?
No. I just upkeep this farm.
Turns.
What?
What do you upkeep? What's the grain or the...
Oh, there's berries,
Yep,
there's
berries,
the peat moss.
Enough berries for one day. That'll do it.
He gives you one good berry.
I mean, you can pick them yourself.
I don't know which ones are good to eat.
That's important. Yeah. I can get you a bushel just for one day.
Just like lift the rest of the corpse that's left into the wheelbarrow and start trundling down the road.
Nice.
Find just like the nearest ditch or gully or whatever I could find. Just, huck! There we go.
But aren't you a cleric?
Yeah.
Shouldn't you
I
bury
can't
him?
make him into something, can I?
I mean,
I could, but
That's
people
macabre.
frown on that shit. It's more like I could... Oh, how old is this body?
Like 5 days or so.
Oh, never mind then. There is something that would work for it.
out of curiosity, because I don't know like what you could do. Is there a and you shall stay buried and not come back as an undead? Like I don't know if there's any like ritual stuff that you do.
So there is ritual stuff that I can do. You haven't gotten the impression yet that that's something that you're talking about, like consecration and blessing and things like that.
Yeah.
It'd be very superficial. Like it wouldn't be like there wouldn't be a ritual or anything.
You dump it in the ditch. Don't come back, and you walk out.
You dump it in the ditch and you make sure, like, 5 days he's not going back as a zombie. He's only got one arm anyway. What's he going to hit me with? Like, It's more of a, and this comes from the concept of like coming from Bastion as well, and being a goblin with very unique perspectives on life in general. Like death is from a very practical sense, that was your end. It's not like, they're not Palerites, they're not like, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not wishing he goes to heaven or anything like that. It's more of a...
Practical.
Right. If he was less than 5 days, I could use his meat to be, to further the life of other people. But 5 days is rancid. That's going to be gross. So, yeah, ditch is probably the best of it.
I am not going to ask you to cook if we're ever in the wilderness.
I saved
You are in the wilderness.
I saved Bastion's lower, what do you call it? Echelons, thank you very much.
I'm sure you did.
With that same mentality. And I cured the orphan problem.
Hey, Jonathan Swift.
Yeah. No, I got this. There was this wonderful, and I was like leaning on the wheelbarrow. Lovely lady, right? Met her in the woods, older for sure. Told me she'd help sort out. We've got a bit of an orphan problem, Bastion, with all the, unfortunate soldiers dying and whatnot. She'd help them sort that out, and if I brought her people to, these orphans to help out, she'd also help out the town as well. She gave us a shit ton of sausages. Just salted. Didn't get an award or nothing. Anyway, I better go religiously dispose of our friend here.
All right.
If we're sitting down for the night, Alar is going to go ahead and I didn't mention it this game. We talked about it during like the pre-one that we did, but he has like his arm still in the sling, and like over the course of the journey, like he was healing from what looked like a number of bad bruises. He's gonna like undo the sling and starts like testing out the arm a little bit, and it looks like it's better at this point. Just start like trying to see like what he can do with that.
Cool. So everybody kind of wraps up their evening, gets ready to bed down before we head westward. Trying to do it without my hands, it is really hard. Before we head westward towards whatever the small cave is. And there is where we're going to end the first session. But first, we didn't do this at the top. So I want to do this now. Everybody, briefly, name and describe your characters. Let's start. Yeah, go ahead, Mama.
I'll start. So I'm Molly, and I play Hazel, Mama Faye. Hazel is an elf. She is roughly 300 years old. She is a mist-seer, and she is a force to be reckoned with, and she's a bit of an ass most of the time. But she loves people part of the time.
What's her look?
She's older. She has silver hair, which she blames her children for, both her natural born and otherwise. Kind of tall, wiry, a little bit strong, but she does have a walking stick.
All right, Alar.
Alar is very average, like in a lot of ways, like about average height, about average weight. Like he's not like specific. He was not. You would look at him and just be like,
disgustingly average.
That's a generic humanoid figure that you could find anywhere.
Just all the default options in the character creator.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what he is completely. He has dark hair that's probably about like shoulder length that he's currently got tied up. Slightly pointed ears, not like very much, but just like enough that you can go like, oh, okay, yeah, all right. And until recently, especially when he met Callie and Mama, looked beat to hell. Just like tons of bruises and he looked like he'd gotten on the wrong end of a fight. And I think when asked, his answer was that he'd gotten kicked by a horse, which probably did not happen. It looked way worse than that. But he had like a broken arm for a while. And he just got rid of that sling. He just for transparency stuff. Callie was hired by someone to escort him up here in the like pre-session that we did. And he's been very circumspect about why he happens to be up here. It's periodically to visit family, occasionally to go like, oh yeah, there's a cool spooky castle, like that's about it. I think Callie would have heard the mention of the castle. Because I think that was around like the first time they met. But yeah, that'd be about it.
All right. Derek?
Yeah, this is not an attractive fellow. There is a 9-year-old goblin, whereas most clerics wear, tabards and things like that. He still has very much goblin attire. They don't have a lot of magic users in like Goblin Society in general. It makes them kind of special, but it also makes them very unprepared for dealing with him. So everything's kind of, you go to he works for the city of Bastion, so everything's kind of like, well, we're going to have to make this special for him. But he's still a goblin, so everything's a little bit ramshackle. He lugs around a giant, like, lug wrench. You notice it's got that interesting filigree that he put on the plow. He's got similar things, but they're symbols of, like, The forge, there's anvils, there's little bits of fire, that kind of a thing. He's about 3 feet tall. He's missing a couple of teeth. Permanent plumber's crack showing. He's the guy that you see not doing construction, surrounded by construction cones on the highway when you're forced to go 15 miles an hour. He's leaning and like smoking a cigarette. That's the motif. Just this tall. I think that's about it. Yeah.
All right, Callie.
Callie is a wood elf ranger. She comes from the Mud Skipper Guild, and they are usually escorts across the 10-day bog for everybody else who doesn't know what they're doing and could potentially lose their life wandering about. But she has come northward on her own quest about a mysterious castle rising from the muck, and bumped into Alar and said, hey, why not get paid twice for doing one thing? So offered to escort him as far as she could north. She is very tall, about 150 years old, and has long black hair that kind of shimmers a little bit blue in certain lights. Her gear is, well, right now it's winter, so she's got wintry gear, but typically she wears quite high boots so that she can literally walk waist high into danger in the swamp. And then her stuff is all very practical for being out in the woods, something that's going to last a long time, help her blend in a little bit. Yeah, she's a little low and slow simmer to Mama's like hot, spicy takes on life. Yeah.
All right, and Tosha.
Let's see. I use they them pronouns. I have shaved black hair, half orcish with pale gray skin, kind of a little more lithe and slightly more angular features than you might expect from a half orc. Not super big either, about 6 feet tall, roughly 180 pounds. Wearing black robes of like decent quality, but nothing very like fancy or showy. And a distinctive looking white and black fur cloak. And also has black face paint from about here up on their face.
Sweet. We'll just call that the credits of this first episode. Thank you, everybody who is here for the episode. Thank you for watching. Thank you, of course, to my players. I hope you all had fun. I really cannot wait to play again next week as we find out what the hell is going on in this forest. So, to everybody, have a good Sunday, enjoy your week, and peace.
We're definitely not all gonna die.
Oh, I'll turn you into something nice.
Hand walkie dwarves.